I would love to see a hybrid show of the Great British Bake Off and a Knife Nerd show where it's like fucking Stone Cold Steve Austin and what's the lady judge from that show called?
I don't remember her name. Love that
Today
show.
on Ultimate Knife Cake. You have to forge a knife and make a cake. How are we testing it? If that knife can't cut that cake from a 50-foot throw, it's a failure. And then we're taking it to the flavor station to judge that cake. That's right, we're looking for a savory cake of some kind with some fruit inspirations. We'd like to avoid turkey and ham in the cakes. You heard it here.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be so good.
I would watch the shit out of this.
Because all the judges, would get along in their kind of, because nerds, there's certain bookishness about being a nerd about this stuff, and just seeing them like it will cut the cake. I want to see Doug Marcaida say that, or it will delight.
Yes. Oh, this is fantastic, and it will cut. Today on the challenge, we're swapping it up. We're making the cake first, then you have to make that cake into a knife. What?
Or make a knife-related cake.
Yes. That's what you always have to avoid. Like, you can't lean into the gimmick that hard. It's like, okay, what you do is you have to make like a savory something, and then use the bones from the meat to fashion a knife to cut the savory thing with. Like, that's the ultimate challenge of that show.
Oh, yeah, I could... Oh, yeah. So, yeah, you take the bone and you have to make, like, I guess minimally it would be a handle.
Yeah.
And those types of knives do exist. Yeah, that would be wild.
What are you working on here? I'm working on a nice French production pastry glaze and also a Damascus steel knife. I'm stirring the glaze with the knife. Interesting choice. Why? I didn't have any silverware. You guys didn't give us spoons.
You have to forge your own. Oh, yep. You have to forge all of your silverware. If you want to have something to work on with the cake, it's like if you need an egg beater or like a mixer, you better forge that too.
I want to see someone forge an egg beater. That sounds ridiculous. Just rotting. How do you get it to splinter?
Yeah, I want to see that only because I want to see what some of these guys who make some fancy stuff.
Yeah.
The guys on these shows make some ridiculous. I want to see the fanciest inlaid egg beater made out of Damascus steel, and it has like inlaid like all designs.
I'm talking like gold mixed in impurity or something during the beat process, even like not even an inlay, like an actual mixed into the metal, so it's going nowhere. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I want to see. The greatest egg beater that's ever existed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we
make a souffle with it.
Oh yeah. All right. So now you're gonna double make it super difficult.
Yeah. Half an hour left on the clock. Cook blacksmith. Then you have to start the cooking portion of it. My knife is coming together in a way I like, but I'm worried about the souffle. Why? I don't know how to fucking cook. Hello and welcome to the Wicked Awesome Cast, episode 143. We've been a video game podcast up until this point, but this week we're different. It's only the two of us. We've swapped Alex for Henry this week, and that's important because we're gonna talk about nothing but weather this week. We know we talked about weather in the past involving Alex's first snow in Portland. That was adorable.
Yeah.
But it fucking snowed in Los Angeles this week. Like, I saw it, and it was bizarre and wrong, and Alex lived in LA his entire life and never saw that happen. And then he fucking moves away, and it happens.
Yeah, I can't believe it myself. I mean, enough snow, like, even here in the valley, to see it collect on the ground.
Yeah, I saw it in Pasadena where it was in the air but not sticking. I at the same time, like, my house is up in the hills, and by hills I mean like the mountains, not the fancy part of LA. Enough that like the last couple weeks I have had like my windshield wipers frozen to my car, and like what could be snow on my car, I don't know. So, but to see it like actually fucking snowing was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, it's I wonder how people are dealing with it, because I mean, in a few places, I don't think it actually got cold enough to have much in the way of iced over roads.
Yeah.
Though. Like, well, we didn't get the combination of precipitation plus freezing temperatures.
Oh, we did that. Where I live.
I guess so. Oh yeah, it did rain some during the week.
I'm also almost 1,000 feet above most of Los Angeles too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's even down here. Like I'm basically in the valley, and it definitely snowed down here too. And it's like, oh, all right, L.A. Okay, L.A.
Yeah. Oh no, we've never covered this. Henry lives in the part of town that I used to live in, so take all the crazy stories I told about that part of town and give them to Henry now.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I grew up with snow.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, not like as much as, like, say, if you went north, but where I'm from, Oklahoma, it gets its fair share of snow. Well, it gets its fair share of just, like, ridiculous weather, period, but it definitely gets snow in the winter. Like, when I went home to visit my family, definitely saw some ice and snow. Definitely had to break up some water and some ponds and stuff, and so that the cattle can actually have something to drink. So, but yeah.
I grew up with enough snow that even though I live in Los Angeles, where in theory it doesn't snow, I have a car that's stupid high rated in snow driving, because I'm like, no, I will never be caught unprepared ever again.
Hey, and you actually got to use it.
I felt like the smuggest son of a bitch for a couple hours, where it's like, oh, you don't have 4-wheel drive? I always have 4-wheel drive. Fuck you.
Yeah.
Oh, you only have LA weather tires? I have actual all-weather tires. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, you're kind of like, one of those people who are preparing for, something for the apocalypse, and you had, like, a bunch of cans of food and whatnot, and then something actually happens.
Those people are wrong, because they assume the apocalypse is going to happen where their stash is. I go the opposite approach, which is, I just want a car that when the apocalypse happens will probably work and be good and gets decent gas mileage. Like, it's not some, like, bash through a barricade semi-truck, but it's a car that, like, I can drive almost have, like, 500 miles on one tank of gas.
Yeah, well, in anything, I mean, my thought has always been, like, contrary to what most of the media would have you think, except for a few gems here and there, I don't think that... I think that an apocalypse will be much... It won't be like what we think it is. It's not going to be
some slow, drawn-out bullshit of weather changes. Like, even if somewhere gets nuked, the most of the world will get fucked over by, like, inclement weather changes as a result of that. Like, it'll be the fucking nuclear winter that happens after that, where it's like, yeah, that's the shitty part, where you don't see the sun for the next 30 years.
I mean, see, and that's the thing, like, the new Far Cry is like post-apocalyptic. The, spoilers, the previous one ends in, like, bombs dropping.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of a spoiler, because it's not really a spoiler, because the
conspiracy theory about that, actually?
About the game?
Okay, so in Ghost Recon Wildlands, there was a oh fuck, I'm blanking on the name. Sam Fisher. What game is he from? Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
There was a Splinter Cell DLC mission that ends with Sam Fisher talking about how he has to go investigate some people that stole some nuclear warheads or something. And then the next game Ubisoft made was Far Cry 5. That ends in nuclear warheads.
Yeah. But yeah, the newest Far Cry, it skipped the whole nuclear winter thing. As far as I can tell, I mean, all the screenshots of it
20
are
years
sunny.
after the fact. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So if it's there's actually a pretty big time lapse then.
Yes, I will never be playing Far Cry New Dawn, because Far Cry 5 was my last Far Cry 5, and they got to change that shit up for me to play it.
Well, it looks like a pretty big change. Looks like they've basically turned it into Fallout. more colorful Fallout.
That has not been the impression I've gotten from people talking about that game.
Oh, okay. Well, I haven't played it. I've only seen screenshots.
Well, if you want to get into like good alternatives to Fallout, I played a game this week we can talk about.
Okay.
All right, so I played 2 games this week. One's the obvious one we talked about slightly last week, but I got to spend a lot more time with it. I played a ton of Metro Exodus.
Do
you know the Metro franchise at all, Henry?
Yes, I am. I am familiar with it.
What is your stance on them? I love the first one, especially after the remaster. The second one is cool, but I think it lacks some of the kind of like fun, super. Like, it's more military centric than the first one is, but it makes sense for the storyline. It's like my general reaction is both games were like flawed, amazing games. Like they're not perfect, but they're like truly exemplary games of what they're trying to do with problems.
Well, I never played the second one.
Oh.
I am familiar with the first one, but I never played the second one. So yeah, I think I agree. Yeah, I'd say that they are great ideas, interesting stories, and I mean and with problems in the execution, but nothing that would make you not want to play the game necessarily.
Yeah. Like every single one of them comes with some like weird technical glitch at launch or something. Like it's a shame because they're very good masterpieces of what can be done with a linear, no multiplayer based. Like they're like Doom, where it's sure you can play multiplayer, but like the single player of Doom, especially the new one, is what you were there for. You were there weirdly enough for a story, and the story of Metro is fantastic.
Yeah.
So the new one, Exodus, kind of subverts the formula some, where the previous ones were literally linear quarter shooters because they took place in the Metro. Exodus takes you outside, puts you in the post-apocalyptic Russian landscape. Don't get me wrong, like there's still plenty of tense corridors for you to kind of shuffle down, like, but you have to transition to inside. And like again, what this game nails is the feeling of what the world would be like after it all goes to shit in this category. Where like you're out in the sky, like there's nothing around you, and that's terrifying because in this world there are giant winged beasts that will swoop down and fuck your shit up, and there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that as for that genre of game, it's hard to actually do the isolation thing, because that's really what I think a post-apocalyptic story is about. And some of them are. Some of the best sci-fi is exactly that. It's about isolation and loneliness rather than sort of ongoing wars and destruction. Like, yeah, much less sort of a, Fallout style thing even.
So, and the game actually
definitely not so much Mad Max. In a certain sense.
But also like super Mad Max in its own weird way. Like this is the world that leads to Mad Max eventually. Like everyone thinks like it goes like here to Mad Max instantaneously. No, it goes through the Metroverse before you get to Mad Max because like you have to let the radiation die down.
And Mad Max is kind of you could call it the twilight of humanity.
Yeah.
It's like that's like the last people. That's why it's so desperate.
Yeah, it's everything is fucked at that point. Something else to go around, and so like we're Metro, and like it's funny you bring up the whole kind of like the war is still happening aspect because like Metro plays with that concept, and I think that kind of what I've always loved about the Metro franchise is that unlike Fallout and lots of other post-apocalyptic games, the Metro games are bleak, and that's because of the writing behind them. Like there's no It feels weird to say it, but they're not a franchise about hope. They're very kind of Russian apocalypse is the impression I've gotten based off some interviews, where it's not so much about like we will save humanity. It's this is what we have to do to continue to eke out a horrible existence in this really fucked up world we created. But what about hope? There is no hope in a world that's roamed by like giant man-eating dogs, winged things that we can't kill easily called gargoyles, and an entire surface planet that's too irradiated to be on. Like it's not familiar. Metro has portions where you go up to the surface of the world, but you have to like gas mask up, and that's when the game goes to this really like the games always have had this really cool kind of survival horror aspect where it's like ammo is scarce, you're managing gas masks, you're managing like health files and stuff. Like it is a game that nails the idea of you're gonna stealth until you fuck up, and then it goes guns hot. And I hope to God you have enough ammo.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing, and I think that's, and it, like I said, it's getting to the isolation and loneliness that are much more likely in that situation than, I mean, and that's, you know, and on a side note, that's kind of why making it into, say, an MMO style of game doesn't work so well, because you have to, there has to be a good storyline to create the feeling of isolation and loneliness, along with the environment itself. And that's one thing that I will say that, well, on the second thing, like Exodus, or the, sorry, not Exodus, but the Metro series does is the bleakness of the environment does it very well, but also, yeah, the storyline, the way things are set up, also does it very well.
So you were fucking setting me up for some amazing transitions this week. So, and like, so what Metro Exodus is different than the previous games is it is open world. Kind of. There are like 4 or 5 zones, I want to say, that are kind of like hubs that have what I'd call like traditional Metro levels contained in them. And you don't teleport places, but you have to walk around. And the first one, like, literally involves, it's like some snowy Russian village that's half like fish god worshipping cultists and bandits, and also the irradiated animals that are about. And like, you're not doing glamorous things. You're doing stuff like getting in a makeshift kayak and rowing out to an island where some dude who can, like, back up a step. You literally leave the Metro from the previous 2 games on a train. You're going to some mountain that allegedly has some giant military complex. It is revealed in this game that part of why Moscow has never made radio contact with anyone is there's people going around Moscow literally jamming radio contact with the rest of the world, because the last orders that were given to the military that remains was, we are still at war, etc., etc. The game plays with this concept in that, like, literally one of the characters spends all his time expecting occupying forces to become a thing you have to deal with, and you as the player are like, yeah, I have yet to see that. What I have seen is a roving pack of radioactive wolves, a bunch of fish cultists, and bandits. Where are these occupying forces? I bet they have really good guns and night vision helmets. I would kill a person for a night vision helmet.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I like the, and I think each of these games, each of these sort of post-apocalyptic games, they've tried to give them a unique look and feel, because they don't feel samey. Like, the ones that I've
so fucking bleak. Like, it is the most, like, everything about that game is just grim in the most amazing way. Like, where Fallout's like, yeah, nostalgia. This game is like, nostalgia, that is what killed us.
Yeah. And the sort of, I mean, it has its comedic notes, and it's a completely different feel.
Oh yeah, like, but the comedic Fallout notes are like the darkest shit ever too. Like, there's really like a side quest where you go and save a little girl, like you rescue a little girl's you don't have to do this actually. You rescue a little girl's teddy bear from like a nest of gargoyles, and the entire time people are like, "Why the fuck are you doing this?" Like, it's a little girl; she'll fucking get over it.
Oh, that's in Metro Exodus?
That's in Metro Exodus, yeah. A side quest is, like, you rescue a little girl and her mom at one point, and it's like, hey, if you get a chance, like, the gargoyles carried off my teddy bear, can you, like, get this back? I hear you're going to, like, the Foundation place where they're hanging out. Like, if you can you deal with this? And, like, everyone's like, all the NPCs you're hanging out with are like, dude, don't do that. That's suicide. It's a little girl. Fuck her. Like, we only have so much ammo and medical supplies. We can't sew you back together when the gargoyles rip you limb from limb for going and getting a goddamn teddy bear.
Yeah, Yeah, that's an interesting quest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like and I like the fact that a lot of these games also are trying to go for different look and feel.
Yeah.
Like, for instance, the the new Far Cry definitely has this sort of neon,
Yeah.
very brightly colored and neon colors thrown in it, which I kind of like it. I like the way it looks.
Yeah.
Personally,
Metro
and
makes colors horrifying. Like, it's the
yeah,
gray, white, black. Those are comforting colors. You see something colorful, and you immediately go, "Oh shit!"
yeah, that's super cool. Yeah, I've looked into wanting to play it, but not yet.
I have not played enough of this one. Like, this one has a lot of the Metro jank all of the Metro games have had. The two previous ones are available in like the Metro Redux collection, and I cannot recommend those enough. They are so fucking good. Like, it's the first one came out with some problems, and they actually remade the first one with the combat system from the second one. And that first one, as a result of that, is a just masterfully driven. Like, it is a amazing survival horror game at that point. And like you mentioned, the look and feel of things, like all the stuff you love about Metro Returns, the bleakness, the kind of like salvage military aspects, the pseudo steampunk style guns are back with an extra flair on them because this game has a crazy crafting system. Unlike other games where you just like magically make pipe bombs and shit, Artyom, the main character, slings off a backpack that's like, here's all your shit, and it's like, I have to fiddle around with parts. And while you're doing this, you're super exposed to things trying to kill you, or you can hang out in Stace's house and do that. Like, and you're doing stuff like swapping barrels and making better guns. Like, the silent pistol I have at the start of the game, I've upgraded into like a sniper rifle, which is awesome. Because now I'm rolling around the Russian apocalyptic wasteland with that and shotgun. And I'm like, this is the loadout for this game, because I'm ready for when things require. Except, other thing to mention, the way the game works is you can go in guns blazing. You shouldn't, because you're going to die, because there's not that much ammo. But the game like encourages you to, when you can, stealth it out. And then when things go bad, whip out your loud gun and finish him off. Like, you're going into a bandit you're going to a bandit compound. Even if there are 3 guys there, there's a very real chance they will fuck you up because there's more than one. Like, it's a game all about like evening the odds in your favor. Like, so it's lots of skulking around and blowing out candles and like disarming booby traps and all that jazz. It's a really cool game in that regard. The aiming feels a little bit weird. You can fix out sensitivity some, and I also got used to it. The game is not flawless, as none of them are, but it's a really good game. Like, if you're riding high off of a Resident Evil 2 kind of survival horror thing, or wanted to always play something like it's very similar to Stalker, the old PC franchise that, like, again, were flawed but really cool games. This feels like the most polished Stalker ever. Like, it puts off those vibes in a good way. I just love the Metro games so much. They're so cool. It's weird being this excited for a Metro game when I think the first 2 are very underrated, and this one kind of had a weird advertising cycle. And this one's weird. Like, I kind of miss the exceedingly linear, like almost like by the hand style of the previous games. But like, when that pops back up and you get the amazing set pieces the franchise is known for, it feels cool. And they're not like over the top Call of Duty ones. They're very intimate, horrifying. Like, there's a point early on when like a mutant grabs you, and it's a terrifying moment because it's like, if you're playing correctly the first time you've encountered that mutant, so it's like, oh shit, I'm about to die, aren't I? Like, how did I fuck up? Oh, it's a cutscene. Cool.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Metro's real good. I wish I was playing on the PC, because I get the impression the PC thing is amazing. I think Digital Foundry like used that game to show off how ray tracing works, and I kind of get ray tracing now, but also like my initial reaction to that, like the stuff they put out isn't this just a better graphics card? Like, what ray tracing doesn't look that much better than just better graphics card to me, but also I'm a Luddite and don't fully get what ray tracing is, but like, they're worth checking out. Like, the darkness in that game looks amazing with ray tracing.
Well, Well, that's the thing. All right, so on a very quick primer on how ray tracing and how that's different from other 3D warp versions of doing light basically is. All right, so most of the time it's kind of being faked. And so we're actually, in a certain sense, drawing eye rays towards the eye in a certain sense, rather than going out from the eye. And so...
It feels like that. Like, it's one of those weird things where
and so,
like, light sources feel realer all of a sudden, but also, like, I've never, outside of one or two games, been like, man, these light sources.
But yeah, so that's why you're going to get a darker darkness.
Yeah.
That feels like shadow and not just like uncolored territory. And so, yeah, with the eye rays going in that sort of a model, it's done because of the rasterization process and the way they have to rasterize basically a 3D world onto a 2D screen of a certain, whatever, 1080p or whatever resolution you need. But yeah, the way ray tracing works is the way light actually works. And so not just rays kind of emanating out from the eyes or into the eyes, it draws everything. Instead of modeling from, say, your own, the way it should look from you, it models the scene properly and models light properly, the way light refracts and reflects off of things more accurately in a certain sense. And so, yeah, a ray trace scene, way more expensive to do, way more expensive because you end up calculating stuff that won't be seen by a camera, at least like at a certain moment. See, that's the other thing that eye rays do for you is it means that you also don't end up modeling or doing the massive calculations for light and shadow work if something's not viewable. Like if you have a car sitting behind a wall, the eye ray version isn't going to bother modeling the way the car is going to work reflectively and the way it's working with light. Whereas, unless there's some reflection of light from, but in any case, you aren't going to see, it doesn't bother calculating it for the most part. Whereas with ray tracing, you model the light. Instead of making eye rays, you make rays from each light source onto each object in the scene, and you end up calculating everything based on that. And so, yeah, it's like I said, the eye ray system, you only draw what's kind of seen and what the eye would be able to see. In the ray tracing scheme, you draw rays from every actual light source and then model the light accurately, or at least as accurately to an extent that you want to in a simulation. So, yeah, it's way more expensive, and that's why it's not normally done in most games, because it can wreck your CPU easily if you're not careful.
Yeah, I'm playing it on the PS4 because I heard the PC version was glitchier, and while my laptop is capable of running some impressive stuff, it's not the most powerful workhorse out there. So I definitely can't speak to it. The games have always been like stupidly graphically impressive on PC, and which I was playing on it because eventually I will have my better rig back, and I want to see it in all its glory. But yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like the Digital Foundry stuff is really cool. Like they have that slider thing they do of like with ray tracing, without ray tracing, and it's like that is some candlelight.
Yeah. Like I said, it's actually modeling rays of light out from every light source rather than just kind of drawing how things would look according to your eye and drawing rays out. But yeah, it's if you're paying attention, it's stunning, but a lot of people probably wouldn't notice.
I want to see it in a game like Thief now or something. I guess it's weird because like Metro has such an emphasis on kind of skulking around in the dark that it feels like the perfect showcase for that game. Like it's like a game like Call of Duty or even like the next game I'm going to talk about, Anthem, won't utilize ray tracing in a way that will matter, but like a game that's so about darkness and kind of the utilizing like pitch blackness to your advantage in combat, and just like there are parts of that game where like you obviously are going to lose a fight, and the correct move is to just get in the duck position and slowly walk past all of it and hope nothing sees you. Yeah. Like, fuck, this is a franchise that in previous two games when you get the night vision goggles, you become OP. It's like, yeah, night vision, time to slaughter.
Mm.
At the same time, it's the franchise where, like, when you're out of power, you have to manually pump a generator to repower that stuff. So it's like, yeah, using that electricity. Not a flash.
Yeah. I'll have to check it out. Yeah, it sounds super cool.
If you've never played the Metro games, go back and check out the first two. I still think the best one of the franchise is the first one, because the second two are kind of building off of that world, and the first one is all about just, like, shellacking you in this beautiful, horrible world the games take place in. Like, the second game is the story of kind of life in the Metro as a, like, military person. There's, like, you're not. You're part of something called the Spartans or Peacekeepers, essentially. But it's like, yeah, no. So that's the Nazi terminal. Why? Because the people there went fascist, and that's the communist terminal. They're cool up until they're not. And what about that terminal? Oh, we don't talk about that terminal. Why? That's the people eaters. And what are they? Oh, they're people eaters. Well, no, they're just people eaters.
You know, it's funny. It's funny about the people eaters thing. It's like, that's pretty realistic. I mean, if there's not a whole lot left that's actually edible, you're gonna. I mean, the thing is, there's quite a few animals that will cannibalize their own kind. We have a social taboo towards it, but in the post-apocalyptic era, I think that is one of the taboos that will go away pretty quickly.
We'll see, probably. Maybe not in our lifetimes, but if you're a podcast listener who is in a post-apocalyptic situation, write in and tell us about that, I guess. Please don't. I don't want to be complicit in a crime, but also do, please. The books that the games are based off of too are fantastic, and they do a much better job of emphasizing the fact that the culture of Metro lives off of pigs, mold, and mushrooms.
Yeah. Mushrooms don't need light. Just fertile soil.
Which you make from
usually
pigs.
Like poop. Which poop works very well for that. Yeah. And it goes with the whole, trash in, trash out. If you're feeding your pigs well, and their poop's gonna be clean, like if they're eating grass and just normal stuff like that or whatever, then you're gonna get some pretty good mushrooms off of it.
The games don't focus on that, but man, do the books. Like, this entire chapter is dedicated to, like, oh, that's the pig farming station. It smells terrible.
That reminds me. I mean, all right. So in the social mores thing, there's Stormbreaker. I don't know if you're familiar with that movie, but it's about the last remnants of humanity are basically on a train that's constantly roving the world because everything's kind of frozen over. And it's just in this forever loop. But, like, one of the big reveals in it is, like, these protein cubes that these sort of lower classes have been eating are made of bugs. And I'm like, people eat bugs now. How is Snowpiercer? Yeah, gosh, I don't know. Sorry, I don't know names of things. It was such a not great movie, and that was one of the things that struck me as, like, that was supposed to be a dramatic reveal. You do know that there are places around right now where it's, like, perfectly normal to eat insects.
Maybe not roach cake.
Like, just period. But, I mean, these were mainly made of beetles and stuff, I guess. And it was. I mean, but in any case, it's like, it's just bugs. I mean, and the fact that they actually managed to mash them up into a bar, and that seems like actually an idea to feed the world. I mean, make use of our insect biomass. But it's social mores are going to be different when there's not anything around, and that's why I was like, because that was played as a big reveal in the movie. It totally was like, oh, we're eating insects, and I'm like, you're eating insects. People have been doing that for like ever.
In that case, like, it's the movie plays with the idea they haven't been there hasn't been a full generation on the train yet. Like, there are still people that remember the outside world and the pre-train life and hold on to the idea of maybe we instincts are gross. I don't know. Like, also, I suspect I'd be fine with it ultimately, but, like, finding us, I was eating cockroach candy bars, I'd be like, I am less okay with this. I'll eat it still because
I wouldn't. Like I said, it's like maybe it's the fact that it's cockroaches and not another type of bug, but it's like I said, there's you can eat bugs now. Like you can go to place and it's just protein. They're almost entirely
it's specifically
protein.
Cockroaches, I think that's the bigger part of that reveal. Like it's the I've eaten bugs before, like as delicacy, not as like a fucking teenager on a dare. Like they've been cooked or whatever. And it's cockroaches. Like it's I would eat these things, but not cockroaches. Why? They're cockroaches.
Yeah, and I guess I can get that. But like I said, when I saw that in the movie, I was like, oh. I mean, literally, that was my because it played all this dramatic swelling music when he finds it, and I was like,
they want it to be a big deal. Like the sushi car is a bigger deal than that.
Yeah, it's just, but that's what I'm saying. Like, not, and I do like that some more of the post-apocalyptic stuff I've seen has kind of tried to play around with the idea that social mores, they're going to be different when there's super scarcity. Yeah. But anyway.
That's enough about Metro. I played another game this week that we're going to get controversial for a little while on this one. Because I think both sides of the argument on this game are wrong.
Everybody's wrong. Only Charlie is right.
I'm not right. We're going to talk about Anthem now. I've been playing a lot of Anthem. Okay. I am playing Anthem after the day one patch went out a week after the game became available to people, which is a weird world to live in. But so, before we get into it, I believe all of the crazy technical issues people encountered or have been encountering exist. I believe all the weird disconnect issues people have had exist. I believe all of the stuff that people got hung up on a technical standpoint have happened to people.
Yeah.
I have yet to experience any of it. I have disconnected from the game twice. I had my computer freak the fuck out one time and lost internet, which was as likely was my computer being a fuck up as it was the EA servers being a problem. My experience with that game has been, it looks great, it runs great, it's a lot of fun to play, and if you're having technical issues, I'm not trying to say you're not, but some of us out there aren't, and we super aren't. And some of the stuff I've read about happening, I'm like, how the fuck does that even happen? And it's I've seen the video of characters vanishing in cutscenes. I haven't had that happen though at all. I'm playing post this 1.0 patch they put out, and I feel bad that it really felt like that early access week was a last-minute polish test thing. That's not okay, but also the game wasn't officially released when a bunch of you got into it, and this 1.0 patch seems to be a big fucking deal to this game. People spend a lot of time complaining with the loading times in the game, and they're not that bad in my opinion. It's for a game with full matchmaking, and I played a lot of Metro. Metro had straight up 5-minute loading times occasionally. I haven't had that in Anthem. Again, I'm not saying I'm the norm. I get into a thing in a minute or two. Not an amazing loading time, but also definitely not the worst I've dealt with for multiplayer content. And I don't know.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. Get a solid state drive. B, get a modem that's not a potato. So, I'm just talking to the people who are having troubles with those two things.
Yeah.
You can't always help your internet connection depending on where you live. That's super true. It varies wildly. But I will say this, solid state hard drive will do you a ton of good.
And again, this is not me trying to dismiss a bunch of people's technical issues with the game. I am playing this game on a laptop that's a pretty powerful, but not the most powerful thing possible. This is a laptop I'm willing to bet most people could afford. It's the size of a small table, admittedly, but it's not the most powerful thing out there, but it's beefier.
Yeah, and it's a laptop. Come on. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you're not having too much troubles on a laptop, then they've probably programmed it relatively well.
I can't speak to that because, like, again, like, I've seen all the evidence people have out there of technical issues, and I haven't had that problem. Like, again, like, I said last week in last week's podcast, I thought about getting into that early access stuff, but I'm like, nah, the first 2 accesses were kind of jank. I'm gonna wait for the, like, day 1 patch to come out, and, like, so, and this is where I kind of get into the kind of conspiracy theories that surround this game at this point. A lot of reviews for this game went up before that 1.0 patch went out, and I don't know what life prior to that patch was, but a lot of those things mentioned stuff that's just straight not in the game anymore. Like, there is a quest in the game that also, like, didn't seem that bad based on some people's complaining about it, but also, like, it's not in the game in that way. It's super doable now, like, to the point of maybe being too easy, but I digress. Like, I'm having a lot of fun playing Anthem. Like, is it a perfect game? No. Are the loading times a little bit too long? Sure. But I'm having a lot of fun. Like, the javelins are really cool. The story, like, this game is on par with Destiny Year 1, in my opinion. Like, I think it has a better story. I have a lot of fun playing it, and that's why I keep playing it. Like, something I really dig about the game is, like, again, like, to get into kind of controversial stuff. The multiplayer part of the game and the story part of the game are weirdly divorced. We're like, if you're not in your javelin, you're in first-person mode in Fort Tarsus, kind of wandering around. And I initially thought that was a weird choice. It solves one of the weirdest issues with modern video games of this type, which is, like, you're not the special. You're just some person, and what you're doing is special. Like, to digress some. The lore of this game basically boils down to, you're on this planet. This planet has some weird thing called the Anthem of Creation. A dumb name, but a really cool concept of, like, some prior culture called the Shapers managed to find a way to essentially, like, harness the power of God technologically, so they can do weird ass shit with it. Like, yeah, it's essentially like a matter replicator, but, like, if it went wrong and, like, got out of control and, like, made, like, gravity invert, or, like, made wolves that breathe fire and shit. Like, so the world of what Anthem is sets it up to be a really cool backdrop for a game like this, because they've established lore-wise, you could just have a zone courtesy of Shaper Tech that just has fucked up gravity, or is all floating, like, mountains or whatever, because that's how this world works. Like, it's a game where fire-breathing mastodons, like, post-apocalyptic raider dudes, wolves that shoot electricity, giant bear gorilla things, like, insectoid guys in armor, and people in, like, power armor mech suit things make sense to be all together, because all the crazy, like, sci-fi shit was made by this technology gone rampant and just, like, breathing weird-ass shit into reality. Like, the bug guys you fight, like the Scars, it is implied they are literally an accident of the Shaper Tech going nuts and making the Scars. And they are, like, super evolved cockroaches. They're insectoid, I guess, that chose to mimic humans as the correct biological form, and, like, made mech armor for themselves as a result of it. And you play a freelancer. To rewind some, I guess, again, like, maybe a spoiler, but not really. So, to deal with the bullshit insaneness of this planet, humans create javelins. And javelins are fucking power armors. And it makes, like, how do they make this? Doesn't matter. You're on a planet where, like, a fucking orb can summon bears. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. You'd make power armor. Yeah, making power armor is definitely a thing culture should do in that situation.
Yeah, it sounds like they've come up with sort of practically the ultimate Deus Ex Machina. Like in that it's actually literally a god in the machine. Yeah. I mean, they took that term and made it sounds like they made it literal. They took that term very literally. They literally have a god in the machine that creates everything. I find that personally pretty entertaining.
The best thing I've heard explain this whole concept is they have taken the game designers and written them into the story of the game essentially as like weird techno gods that vanished and left a fucked up planet for humans to live on.
Yeah, and it's not the first time we've had sort of a precursor technology gets found and does wild stuff, but it sounds like an interesting take on it. They make it, like I said, it sounds like they made it even more of a Deus Ex Machina than other Deus Ex Machina technologies that I've seen.
I find most Deus Ex Machina stuff kind of annoying, where it's like, oh yeah, wasn't that convenient? There's nothing convenient about this. Like, it's the half of the game, like the entire crux of the game revolves around the idea that when Shaper tech goes bad, millions of people lose their lives and like mountains turn into giant sludge monsters. Like, it's this idea where it's like, no, our ongoing struggle isn't to survive, it's to stop this shit from turning on. Because when it does, bad shit happens.
Yeah.
So, and like this kind of gets like the more pressing, like relevant parts of the game. So there's that. Back when humans made the javelins, made their cool ass mech armors, there was a lady named General Tarsus who was a fucking badass who led a series of knights whose whole thing was, yo, we're dealing with Shaper tech and all the bullshit it creates. We're helping humanity, and but she died in kind of a ridiculous struggle, as mortals do, kind of thing. And her faction and her team kind of split up into three factions: the Sentinels, the Freelancers, and the Dominion. The Dominion are kind of the Nazi assholes who went north and were like, yo, peace through superior firepower, bitches. The Sentinels are the ones that are like obsessed with like, no, we gotta help humans. We're gonna hang out in bases, and we're gonna like humanity first, guard, shield walls, all that bullshit. And the Freelancer, which is what you play as, are kind of the natural progression of, we were in this for the adventures and to do cool shit. We're kind of mercenaries, but also like we're heroes, but heroes in the way of, yeah, we're dumb enough to go outside the walls and be like, yeah, I'll fight a bear monster for some gold. Fuck it, why not? Like, it's again, they've written into lore kind of you as a video game player. It's like, okay, you want to be a hero? Cool. Here's this entire suicidal group of people that, like, are very aware just how dumb what they're doing is constantly. Like, it's we're going out into the wilderness where lightning can occasionally shoot out of trees for no goddamn reason in power armor to get, like, basic supplies or, like, figure out why there's earthquakes or something.
Yeah.
It's cool from a lore-wise perspective. And a lot of people think like the lore's not there. I haven't beat it yet, but I know what's going on in this game pretty well. Like, I've also made, like, so when you're back at Fort Tarsus, it's first person, it's very kind of a la BioWare's previous games. You talk to people, they tell stories, and again, like, lots of reviews have been like, oh, there's no BioWare story there. And as someone who played through all of the original 3 Mass Effects relatively recently, I think these people have the weirdest nostalgia issue going on, because, like, is Mass Effect 2's story in this game? No, but also Mass Effect 2 didn't have the story lots of people think it did. Like, it wasn't...
Oh, yeah.
Like, it wasn't as good as everyone remembers that goddamn game being. Not in a bad way. That's definitely the best Mass Effect. But I feel like, oh, there was hundreds of hours of talking to people. And I'm like, yeah, there was. A lot of it was shit.
Yeah, a lot of it is just, like, not terribly interesting or useful. And that's, I personally have always felt like the Mass Effect as a franchise was massively overrated.
I love Mass Effect, and, like, I'm kind of on board with you at this point. Like, it's would I love an actual Mass Effect 4? Yeah. Was I kind of okay that the idea of there's not going to be a Mass Effect ever again after Mass Effect 3? Yeah, also. And, like... Yeah. People have this idea of what...
It's just...
Sorry, go.
I think, I mean, the big thing was, it did the same, it promised, and it said it didn't, but it did the same tropes of, you're either super evil or super good, there's not really an in-between. I guess I've seen that so not very well, like, I've seen that so commonly in most games, period, where there's no difference between Paragon and, like human butcher, and it's just kind of, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like it's just as ham-fisted as most RPGs. I just think it was really the fact that it was an RPG with, nice, realistic looking graphics.
And good combat comparatively.
Yeah, and good combat. Yeah, yes.
Like it's weird. Like a lot of people are like, oh, there's no one to talk to in Fort Tarsis, and I'm like, there is. There's like 10 people you talk to, and I kind of dig them. The whole story, the side story about how one of the other freelancers, like, oh yeah, you're not the only freelancer. You're just one of many, and that kind of helps the grounding of why there's multiplayer in this game. But like, it's an NPC freelancer wagered their javelin and lost it, and you don't fix it. You just kind of talk them through some options of what to do. Like, you're just kind of hanging out, talking to them, and that's all you do. Like, there's another side one where like there's a lady who is a farmer, and she develops like a fancy hydroponic farming, and you hook her up with a baker who's like, yeah, I can't get flour because of the kind of issues we're having with getting supplies in, and that's all you do. No shooting required. Just being like, hey, you should talk to the lady getting drunk in the bar, because she also wants to help out with this shit. It's weird. Like, it's not Mass Effect. It's not giant and bombastic and over the top. It's very grounded-esque, but it's also like, no, like, the level of interaction is there, but also I don't think any of you remember what that level of interaction was. Like, you've all imagined this game that, like, I've played recently that was good, but no, you're very wrong about what that game was.
Yeah. But in any case, not to just sit and...
Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun.
Dump on a beloved franchise.
No, that's the issue. Like, it's all the reviews are like, this is a bad spot for BioWare. And I'm like, Dragon Age has been a bad spot for BioWare, you fuckers. Every Dragon Age game has been a bad mark.
Yeah. Not only were they technically problematic, the storylines were, like, really, really
2 is an undefendably bad game, in my opinion.
I haven't played 2, but I've
2
heard...
2 is the game where you could go from 0 to sex by accident in, like, seconds. Like, that was a game where it's like, okay, I don't want my character to bone down on this character. That was the hardest thing about that game, and I hated it for it.
Yeah, that's pretty gross and dumb.
I'm exaggerating some, but like, it was like, man, I did not mean to fuck that character, literally. I was trying to play a character this way, but yeah, no, we're boning now. Great.
Yeah.
I have not got to boning in Anthem. Yeah. I believe it's not in there, so if you're worried about that, it's a game you can play in front of children without being like, oh God, Timmy, leave the room. But so I guess to get back to Anthem for a second, or to actually focus on Anthem specifically, I'm having a lot of fun. Like, the story part acts as both the tutorial and the campaign. Like, it teaches you the world, if you will. It's not the best thing, but I'm interested. There's a cool plot twist in it. It feels believable, and it sets up this idea that, like, you're a freelancer. You fly the javelins. My favorite detail is that, like, it's not just like you put on power armor. It's the idea that javelins are unbelievably hard to control. Like, there's a character that spends a lot of the story being like, man, just put me in a suit and I'll be out there with you. And when he does, they basically spell out the idea of, like, no, most people can't fly javelins. It requires a mental stability that a lot of people don't have because of the way it works. It interfaces with your brain. And if you freak out, the javelin loses its abilities. Like, it's the idea that, like, you have to be serene in combat or your javelin straight up does not work and locks up on you.
So it's basically Evangelion or Gundam in the new
Shinji.
types.
You are Shinji. You are a bitch. You spend all this time complaining about being in your giant mech mom. No, it's not that.
Yeah. But yeah, also like in Gundam, the new type, which is the only people that can kind of really pilot a Gundam for reasons. But yeah, that just kind of super reminded me of that.
It's one of these things where it's like, it does not need to exist, but the explanation of why everyone doesn't have a javelin, I think, is really cool. Like, you're not the one, you're not the special, you're someone who's like a little bit messed up in the head enough that like you can be flying at 100 miles an hour in an Iron Man suit directly at a giant murder bear and go, okay, this is cool. Whatevs, we doing this.
This is normal.
Let's do this, bear. And like, there's a character in the game they touch upon can't be a javelin pilot anymore because they're too messed up. Like they don't have the clarity for it anymore, which is cool. It's like, so the campaign, this is what it is. Like, it's you go do things. Like, where this game shines, I think, is in the free roam mode or the free play mode, and not a lot of people are talking about that. Where they dump you into the overmap, you kind of go around and just there's stuff to collect and explore, and like there's all kinds of Easter eggs to pick up and collectibles. What's actually happening is like every 3 minutes a public event pops off, and public events take 5 minutes to do. Tops, it's kill these things, collect these things, shove these things back into another thing, and then go to another part of the map and keep flying. Like, it's the flying from point A to point B will give you 5 or 6 public events in that flight path that you can do. You don't want to, but like, they're so fast and easy. Easy's the wrong word. Like, they are hard. You will die if you're doing them solo or not smart about them. But they're like, yeah, you can just pop in, pop out if you want, and fucking whatever. Like, it's a game that like you can just kind of jump into for a chunk of time and spend some time like you've accomplished something, which I don't think Destiny does it well anymore. Like, it's got that Warframe thing going. It's like, yeah, just pop in, pop out, whatever. Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
I think the game shines in the free play mode because it's like you feel like someone in a power armor on patrol, which a lot of games like I think try and attempt, but like they never quite nail it. It's you're just going around dealing with shit. You've dealt with shit because you did those story missions and those dungeons and stuff, but like yeah, whatever. You're just doing your job. Your job is to stop the radioactive scorpions from getting into the fort. How do you do that? Kill a lot of them scorpions.
Yeah.
Those scars are setting up a camp real close to the base. Better go bust it up real quick. They're back. Not surprising. Go kill them again. There's bandits in the mountains. Just go kill bandits. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with the game. Like, and I feel real bad because like is this game a 10 out of 10? No. But it's not a 6 out of 10 either. Like, it's a really solid 8 out of 10. Like, anyone who was super on board with Destiny 1, there's something in this game that's for you, I think. Like, it feels a lot like the joy I had in Destiny 1. And like, again, like, I'm having so much fun with the game. Like, are there some bad loading times? Yeah. Is it kind of annoying I can't like swap out the gear I just picked up? Yeah. But Warframe did that. I didn't have a problem with Warframe. Like, are the missions all go to a thing, activate a thing, and shoot things? Yeah, but that's also Warframe and Destiny, 2 games I've played a shit ton of. So,
yeah,
I'm having a lot of fun. Like, I don't get why people are down on this game for being like other games that like, oh, the other one does it better. I don't know if it does.
Okay.
Like, yes, a lot of the missions devolve down to defend the checkpoint. Yeah, but that's the Division and Destiny 2 to a T. Like, Warframe's even worse, where the most of the missions there are go from point to point, be murdering everything in your path. What if it's just murder?
Yeah, just because, like, better food exists doesn't mean I can't enjoy, like, French fries, for example.
I would argue this is like the In-N-Out burger compared to the Five Guys burger. Like, does the Five Guys burger stomp on the necks of all that kind of fast food gear stuff? Yes. Is this a totally good burger for when you're drunk and or hungry and or on the road and or just want food? Yeah, it's fine. It's good even.
Yeah. And it's good. You'll actually enjoy it. So yeah, it doesn't have to, and I guess as a reviewer, to some extent, you need to be a little more objective and say things like there are other games that do this. But yeah, it shouldn't make you feel like I'm not allowed to enjoy this game because X, or because it's not the greatest thing ever.
I wish there was a companion app for the game, not because like it would add much, but because I keep unlocking this index shit, and I'd love to read that index shit while I'm like going to the bathroom or something where I have like 3 minutes to burn. It's like, oh, what the fuck is a scar? Ah, that's what a scar is. Cool. Like, a lot of people gave Destiny 1 shit for offboarding all the Grimoire stuff, and it felt like this deal, like, you don't get it. Like, it's the, I don't want to read this in-game. I want to read this on the bus. You know, I got 10 minutes to kill. Who the fuck is Dredgen Yor? Ah, he's the Thorn guy. Interesting. Like, it kept you engaged in the world outside of the game, which I dug. Where it's like, oh, it's loading. Huh, what's the Thorn? Oh, it's a gun that was made from a flower. That's dumb. Okay. Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot there to like. There's a lot of imperfectness to it. Next month is when the quote endgame stuff kicks off, and we'll see what that is. I like Anthem. I expect to play Anthem for at least the next couple months, kind of thing. Like, I have put money into Anthem to buy some armor for my javelin because I want it to look cooler. Like, I didn't feel bad about that either. I've also ground currency to buy some more upgrades, so like it seems fine. If you're really playing this game the way I think some people are playing it, which is like already up to 100 hours and the game's been out a week, like you will never have to pay for anything with real cash. You're fine. Also, maybe don't do that, but do you? Yeah. Yeah, I like Anthem. I should be talking about it for a little while. I think people need to chill the fuck out on this game. Like, it's no worse than I think Destiny 1 was at launch. Like, a lot of people forget things. A lot of people, like, it feels like it's getting the Apex treatment where people were like, fuck EA, so fuck this game. It's like, Destiny was part of that company that just laid off like 800 people, so.
Yep.
Video game companies are bad.
Yep.
But yeah, that's what I've been up to this week. Anthem and Destiny, or not Destiny, Metro. It's fun to be playing both. I checked out For Honor for a brief hot second because I don't fucking know why. I go back to that game every once in a while and be like, yeah, I wish I liked this game more. It's real cool. What have you been up to, Henry?
Alright, so I still have not replaced my graphics card, so I'm still using the onboard graphics card with my motherboard. It's existing still, it's still there, but yeah, I play some games that aren't particularly graphically demanding. I had a chance to play some Network Doom 2, like some Deathmatch, like original Doom 2, except on something called Zandronum, which is it's a network client server system, essentially, for Doom and Doom 2. And yeah, we were playing registered copies. It's so cheap. It's just $5 on Steam, so I just bought it. But yeah, but they did something that I thought was sort of like expected, but also travesty, in that you can duck and jump in that port of Doom. And I'm like, that you aren't supposed to be able to do that. You can't. That completely takes away from. Well, it makes some of the levels obsolete, like, in a certain way. That is, like, being able to jump over certain objects just makes the level no longer make sense. That is, you can just do big skips on the levels. And it doesn't matter so much in Deathmatch, I guess, to a certain extent, but just me being a big nerd and knowing about the level design of Doom 2, Doom and that series and the people involved just lets me think that playing it like that, playing Doom on a client that allows you to do things that were never intended, breaks these levels, these very carefully designed levels that were designed around these mechanics, around the fact that you can't always jump all the way up to something, or you just can't fit in some things. But yeah, that's what was kind of weird, but it was fun. I had a lot of fun playing Deathmatch. I hadn't played Doom in ages, to be honest. Like, it had been forever since I had played. And when I'm saying Doom, I am talking about the original one that came out in the 90s. But yeah, that was kind of cool. I don't know what experience you have with Doom and Doom 2. Did you play them when they came out? Were you old enough to have played them when they came out?
I don't know. When did they come out?
That was like in 95,
I was alive
96.
by then.
Yeah. And so, yeah, and that was my first times playing it, was basically when they had initially come out. But yeah, going back and playing them is cool, but it's like it's not something I do on a regular basis. There's way better now, and I'm not blinded by nostalgia glasses. I mean, like I said, I had a certain quibble with the introduced mechanics in the port because it breaks certain levels. But I mean, I think it's interesting that this is just that people are still playing this.
Do you feel it's aged well?
To a certain extent, yes. It's very interesting in that it was just so much more well polished of the game than anything that came out at that time. And the fact that it was well polished in its mechanics and all these different things is the reason it's kind of stuck around. That, and it's easy to mod. That they gave you straight out of the bat mod tools to do stuff with it. But yeah, so that was cool. That was a little bit of a cool thing to try out.
I personally find your ongoing adventures in like low graphic impact games fascinating. Like, it's shitty, I know, but part of me is like, I want to keep this up because it's cool hearing about these games that don't work. Like, it's so many games where it's like poorly rendered and optimized. They require that ridiculous graphics card, and you keep finding these really kind of cool sounding. Like are they the best game? No, but they're fun and they run on a basic graphics system built into your code. Like, this is neat. These are fun games to hear about.
Yeah, I also played Gorogoa. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but it's the puzzle game that came out not too long ago. Man, that game is clever. Like, and I'm rare to say something like that, to be honest. Like, it's something that I withhold from a lot of puzzle games, because there's too many puzzle games where it's just either the puzzles don't seem to have anything to do with the game itself. That's kind of how I felt about Path to Mnemosyne, that the game's puzzles were just sort of completely divorced from the game's story. In Gorogoa, it's super clever. It's just I've never played a puzzle game like it. It's just really, I mean, it's not a very long game. If you've played sort of, I guess, puzzle games to a certain extent for a while, you won't find it too hard to go through. But the solutions, man, they are clever. It really plays with the idea of frames and windows and stuff like that, and scale. And to go beyond that would give away too much. But oh man, and it's graphically gorgeous. I mean, the way the drawings and the stuff, it's just really, really extraordinary. But yeah, that game is cool. I mean, I've definitely never played any other game like it. The puzzle aspect of it is just, I can't get over on how clever it is, because I'm just thinking, like, how do they design this? How do they think this would be this puzzle, and this would be the way to solve it? It is so clever. It is super, super clever. I mean, too many kind of games like, I've played a lot of point and click puzzle games, as it were, maybe not necessarily puzzle games, and I like lots of different types of games, but puzzle games, and I've played a lot of varieties, but yeah, that one, you gotta play it. It's just that good, and it's really mind-bending. And when you figure out a solution, because it was so kind of well packaged and executed, you get a really good feeling whenever you solve one of its mini puzzles. Yes, it was like, yeah, that took some brain power. That took some cleverness to actually figure that one out. Have you played it?
Gorogoa, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, actually. I'm familiar with the name, definitely, but I'm not sure I ever actually spent much time playing it. I'm frantically looking it up so I can see if I can jog my memory. How do you spell it? Gora? Goa?
Goro, Goa. But yeah, it just, in every way, it's an extraordinary game. It just goes to show you, you don't have to make the fanciest game with the fanciest 3D graphics or AI or whatever. It just takes playing with the idea. And it's something I like to try to teach in some of my classes, is that you need to be willing to think of games and video games as a medium, not a genre. Not a genre where this is the way what you should expect out of this type of game, but go beyond it. Think it, because a part of video game design is game theory, as in the mathematical sense of game theory. And when you start thinking and you start going beyond, what does it mean to have conflict in a game? What does it mean for something to be a game? Once you start to actually explore that, I think that's where you truly find some of these really unique ideas, really neat ideas. And that's definitely a super cool...
I do know this game.
I mean...
I won, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's just so clever, so well done. And yeah, it's not going to put much stress on your video card. It's definitely not going to put stress on your video card.
If you have a 1998 computer, it might stress that video card, but...
Yeah. But yeah, it's just so well done all the way around. Yeah, and so, yeah, it's part of my, I guess, ongoing quest to continue to play games that aren't going to...
I find it super impressive, man.
Yeah, and the thing is, yeah, it's... Alright, so I played another one, too, played another smaller, kind of super cheap game, Beatrice. And so, I don't own a Switch, and I'm desperate to play Tetris 99. That's literally right up my alley. That will be the game that actually gets me to buy a Switch. And I'm not even joking about that. That's going to be the game that actually, okay, I need to buy a Switch now, because, man, I love Tetris. So I picked up this other one a bit ago called Beatrice, which is, it's just kind of musical Tetris. It's not a whole lot to it. It's a very simplistic game, but it's actually fun. And so I think I started playing it because of being reminded of Tetris 99. I mean, alright, so I'm a person that's actually played and been very good at Tetris the Grandmaster. I have not managed to get Grandmaster level, because to get that, you have to play through the credits, and where you don't see any of the blocks, neither as they're dropping or when they're placed. I don't know. Have you watched people play it?
I have watched some high-level Tetris play. I enjoy Tetris. I do not have the love for Tetris a lot of people have.
Yeah, I guess it's because alright, so I had an original Game Boy, and that was the game that came with the Game Boy, the original Game Boy, and so I played hours and hours of that, and so yeah, I definitely have a very special place in my heart for Tetris. I don't know if you've ever looked into the history of Tetris.
No parts of it. I read the graphic novel based around the original creator suing a company over it.
Yeah, it's and that's the thing. It's more than one creator, and so one of them works at Google. And it was 16 at the time he was working on it. He was a programmer on it. And for those that don't know, Tetris was released while it was still Soviet. There was from Soviet Russia, from USSR. That's why you see Elorg as the kind of producer of the official Tetrises of the time. That was sort of it was a government-controlled company that kind of had to do with exports that were allowed. The history is interesting, but yeah. So one thing you can still download, and this is pretty cool. It's from this guy's website. This former developer of one of the people who originally developed it is a version of the game for DOS, and it still runs at the speed it should because they actually have a real timer programmed into it. And so it doesn't just, if you can get it to run, it won't just run super fast like a lot of DOS games will if you let them. A lot of DOS games will literally run as fast as your CPU will allow. This one does not. There's actually built-in timer. And for a game of that time to have that sort of technology, that's incredibly extraordinary. That is some ridiculous programming there.
Cool.
But yeah, I like the, I guess being the super nerd, I like the whole history of Tetris, and so I'll play practically any Tetris you throw at me. I mean, Tetris Effect being another one that I would love to play if I owned a system that could play it. Tetris or yeah, it is. Yeah, it is called Tetris Effect.
New one, right?
Sure. But yeah, it's only on.
The new
Yeah,
one,
what's
right?
that? Yeah, it's the one on. It's
Yep,
only on
got VR
PS4.
capabilities.
Yeah, and that's another one. Man, I want to play that game. All these Tetrises are coming out for systems I don't own, and it's making me super sad because it's literally my favorite game franchise. And I say that in all earnestness. It's like, and I've played a lot of game franchises, and Tetris is still my favorite. It's the one that's never let me down. I'm looking at you, Sonic.
You know, some kid played
But-
that new Tetris Effect game. Was like, man, this is real cool for a start of a franchise.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you know what? If Tetris Effect is your first entrance into Tetris, then
worse
good.
Tetrises.
You didn't play. Oh yeah. I guess you're aware of like some of the first Tetris that was created for the NES was under Tengen, and Tengen was like basically illegal. One of 4 or 5 companies that were illegally making games for the NES via reverse engineering.
Yeah, there's one I hear about a lot. Like Sega made a Tetris game at some point that was like just unforgivably bad in the Tetris community.
I don't think I played that one.
You only play the good Tetris.
Sega Tetris. Yeah, I mainly only played the good Tetris. I mean, the Beatrice that I played was it was all right. It was fine. It wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't like amazing, but
Yeah.
it was fun to play. I've never gotten a chance to play Puyo Puyo Tetris. I do play Puyo Puyo as well, so I'm kind of aware of both franchises. I'm a fan of both franchises. But yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, so but yeah, that's kind of, what I've been playing, there again, games that aren't going to burn out my Intel graphics chip. And it is Intel graphics chip. It's Intel's HD graphics.
Fancy.
So, I mean, yeah, yeah. AKA, it will display an image on your monitor, and that's pretty much it.
Behold,
But
graphic.
yeah,
Singular.
yeah. Even playing a moderately kind of like a little bit more game. I mentioned playing the
Yeah.
Vagrant, and that game was starting to sound like it was going to melt my computer. And it's a 2D game. And I was like, okay, I need to take down the resolution and undo some of the graphical stuff so that it'll play better. But I probably can't continue playing this. But yeah. But yeah, I'm continuing my adventures in games that won't fry my computer. But that's pretty much it. Yeah, I didn't really play a whole lot of extra games other than that. I mean, I played a little bit of Terra. I'll go ahead and mention it. You know what? It's just a little aside. Because they've put PUBG into my Terra.
They got PUBG in my Terra.
And I'm like, I don't know. So basically, all that really got added was a new vehicle, which just looks like a
that's
car.
what PUBG has.
Yeah, and if you're not familiar, Terra is like high fantasy.
The highest of fantasy. Like people wearing crystals for outfits fantasy.
Yeah. And skins, and the skins are just like button up white shirts and ties and jeans, which I guess that seems like the blandest possible thing you can brand a franchise on. Like t-shirts with necktie, or not t-shirts, but button up shirts with neckties and jeans. I mean, that could be anything. That's so nondescript. But yeah, you can get that skin in Terra now. Why? I'm not quite sure, but I'm sure some people have. I mean, I have a dress up skin on my Terra characters, and so I mean, but yeah, I mean, I still do hop in and play Terra every so often, but they got PUBG in my Terra. Anyways, that's my week.
That's it for weeks. I guess it's time for news.
For news.
Oh, I love the fact you're stealing Alex's bit. This is great.
Yep. And I did it better.
This is good. This is good.
All
right. We got some news this week. Starting us off with some funny news. A shit ton of people bought the game Apex Constructs thinking it was Apex Legends. Not really news, but I think it was fun.
And it's been a great boon to the Apex Constructs people. I hope not everybody that did that on accident just went and got a refund.
I hope they don't too. I hope they gave the game they bought by accident a shot. This is not really news, as I said. I just thought this was so goddamn much fun when it floated across, and just speaks to how bad a name Apex Legends has.
Yeah.
Primarily, most of the sales were in, I believe it was China, which doesn't matter, but it explains maybe the jump from one language to another being the cause of the confusion.
Oh, yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Well, I hope it was a lot cheaper.
Well, seeing as Apex Legends is free, it wasn't.
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yep. Where to go next? This is a fun week. Let's talk about Fallout 76 next, I guess. And so initially I was kind of rolling my eyes at this when I heard it, but Bethesda got out there and unveiled a roadmap for 2019 for Fallout 76.
And they've actually got a certain amount planned. It seems like they're kind of hedging their bets a bit. But I'm like, there's a future for Fallout. There's actually a future for Fallout 76. And you could have fooled me.
Well, and like weirdly, some of the stuff they're talking about sounds like maybe okay stuff. Like it sounds like what you would want in a game like Fallout 76. The most immediate of which is something called Wild Appalachia content. It comes out March 12th. It will run until March 7th. It's focused around a mythical beast of some kind. Fucking Mothman's already in the game, so who the fuck knows?
Yep, looks like cryptids are going to be in the game, or more cryptids, I should say, are going to be in the game.
Fallout 76 just evolves to being a cryptid game.
Hey, you know what? Be better than what it is now.
Yeah.
If it's literally nothing but cryptid spotting, I could get into that. But all right, but the next most, I think, feature that they're adding, brewing and distilling.
Sure.
That's it. They're adding that in there, and you as a person that's actually done some alcohol making, I'm sure you can find
Video
that
games are
humorous.
so lame when it comes to how they handle this topic.
Oh yeah.
Everything's so instant. It's like, you made moonshine. I'm like, where's the 3 weeks of me going, I can't tell if the air's kicked off in there yet or not. Like, is it alive? I can't tell.
Yeah.
All of this sounds like it could be cool. It kind of sucks it took them this long to get to it. We didn't talk about it last week. They just got done doing a major purge, I guess, of like duped items and stuff for balance reasons. It is neat to see that they are supporting this game. I don't think this fixes the fundamental issues with the game, but
the main issue, which literally none of these things seem to be dealing with, is the fact that the game is sparse. Yeah. Like, they just need to put in interesting NPCs into the game. I mean, they do that with every MMO. I mean, how many MMOs have you ever played that lasted any time at all, that had, like, nothing in the towns? Like, nobody to talk to, like, almost nobody to talk to, just sparse the whole game. And they still don't seem like they're dealing with that. And that seems like guys, dudes, did you literally forget the only real reason, or the only real thing that made Fallout universe interesting in the first place?
That's such a weird topic where it's like, if this wasn't a Fallout game, I think people would be more on board with it, because Fallout implies a certain set of things that this game does not deliver on.
Yeah, and a big one Yeah, and a big one is really that, the game, a populated game world, even though somewhat sparsely, a populated game world with intriguing
Yeah.
characters in it, with that fit into the larger narrative or are doing their own thing. And I still don't see anything adding that. I see some seasonal stuff and some new mechanics, but they gotta add, they if they want people to stick around the game, they gotta give a story
Yeah.
something. I mean, it just seems ridiculous to me, but
Yeah.
mm.
Like some of the things they're talking about is like, oh, we're adding legendary vendors. And it's like, okay, I thought there were no vendors in the game, but there are.
Yeah, mm. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like kind of the plans for fall are looking to add a new main quest
Yeah.
line. It says among other things, but that sounds like that should have been what the game literally
Yeah,
shipped with.
so not to jump back to Anthem too heavily. Like, there's been a lot of talk lately about the idea of if big titles just launched in early access for this kind of rough period they go through, would you be better off? And also, like, if every game now gets supported after its release, like, what is the release date at this point? But seriously,
Mm.
what is the release date? Yeah, it's the. I don't think you'll ever overcome the kind of weight that is the bad press Fallout 76 has had. But I also like it's the as much as I don't think you should devote time and resources to fixing Fallout 76. If you want to, you should, and if you can make a good game out of it, power to you. Like, I think Anthem's in a similar batch right now where the reviews for it are primarily bad. I'm not going to rehash what I just said a couple minutes ago, but like it's this idea where it's like if you support something long enough, it can get good. Like, fuck, For Honor is still around.
Yeah, and ultimately, like Destiny and Destiny 2, I suppose, for the similar reasons. Once they actually, some of their
Yeah.
DLC that they released really made the game.
Oh yeah, no, like Destiny
Like
1 was
really,
fixed
really made the
by
game.
by not Forsaken, that was Destiny 2 that got fixed by like both Destiny games have been fixed primarily by a giant year 2 piece of DLC dropping and fixing almost all the issues from year 1. So
Yeah. So I mean, definitely you can invest in something and give it a chance, and you can improve it. It's not like you put out a game and it's necessarily impossible to
yeah, this is
improve.
not what's it called? This is not Animal Space Station, whatever it was. That game like literally could not be beaten because the final mission is glitched.
uh, yeah, but it's cute. They think 76 is the future, but yeah, I mean, it could. It doesn't seem like they're dealing with the big elephant in the room. But anyway,
Yeah, I don't know. Exactly. I ain't gotta tell you how to spend your money, Bethesda.
Nope.
Let's talk about Fortnite for a couple seconds.
Mm.
Not so much Fortnite specifically as so much that there was a unofficial Fortnite festival put on in the UK.
And it sounds like it went about as well as the Fire Festival.
It's you're not wrong, but like we need to stop just throwing around the Fire Festival as a comparison as a culture. Like, we need to bring back DashCon and NathanCon, like things of comparable scale. like,
yeah,
no one wound up stranded on an island because of Fortnite Live. Like, it sucked.
That's true.
It was shitty. It was bad. But like, no one was at actual risk of their health. Like, this is more they showed up to a convention space and there was a ball pit. Like, this was a fan convention gone bad. No one's pressing criminal charges that are in the billions. Yeah. To catch you all up who aren't looking at the article, from February 16th to 17th in Norwich, UK, there was a Fortnite festival called Fortnite Live. It promised all the ultimate Fortnite Battle Royale experience. It did not deliver. It was ultimately like an archery range and a rock climbing wall and some other stuff that, like, even compared to DashCon, this is more of a thing that you wouldn't be upset to attend in theory, but it's also being sued. It's being sued currently by Epic.
I'm disappointed. They didn't. It doesn't even look like they had a laser tag set up. And having, I'm a person who's actually been a part of putting on big events. Laser tag is not that expensive to get. They have they bring their inflatable barriers and a bunch of guns, and that's it. And and some people to watch over it, of course, and that's pretty much all you have to worry about. I mean, and they didn't. It sounds like of all the things they should have had in their Fortnite thing, they should have had a laser tag system. Come on,
or paintball or something. Yeah,
like I said, laser tag is even less messy
and less wavery. Yeah, you're right, actually.
Yeah, like you don't really have to sign much of a release waiver for a laser tag. It's not super dangerous. You aren't going to put your eye out unless you literally stick your gun in your eye. But it was a thing done for 2 days. It was actually a 2-day festival. The tickets were cheap though. I'm looking at the price of the tickets. That's pretty darn cheap.
Yeah, but there was those wristbands. Like it was the double cost experience. That maybe that's where the Firefest comparisons come, because put all your money on these wristbands,
Oh, okay. So to do some of the activities, you had to pay extra. Ooh, ugh. So that's I can see why, especially looking at what it provided, people might be like, I think, I just see and I don't think it was just a cynical cash grab.
Yeah.
I feel like people who put it on, they genuinely like Fortnite a lot, and they want to do something nice, but, good intentions,
But like I said, Epic's suing them over it. It's not quite clear what that will mean, because this is obviously not a rousing success they wish to put an end to, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what they're expecting to get out of a thing that probably didn't make any money.
I think this is more you kind of have to.
Yeah, but I mean...
this in my mind is very synonymous with when Disney sues something, where it's like, is this are you impeding on a market Disney cares to care about? No, but you gotta keep the brand pure. You can't have a bunch of shitty things out there when you Google Fortnite pop up and are like, oh, maybe Fortnite isn't good. Especially at this point where Apex Legends is out there kind of stealing people away from other battle royales.
But it's like I said, I didn't see this as a cynical cash grab. I feel like this is something done.
I'm not saying it is. It's more this is more like it's the Epic going, you can't do this because we don't want this showing up when you Google it.
Yeah, but it does feel like they're just a gigantic company just beating up on a tiny event company that basically they're just going to bankrupt simply out of legal fees, and I think that's kind of messed up. Oh, well, I think that's really messed up. I mean, Disney's done similar things. A lot of these big companies have done similar things to just smashing down on somebody that was never really going to affect them in the first place. And I feel like this is something that just kind of makes them look like jerks that are dancing on the already run over corpse of something that didn't work.
I think that's going a little far. You're not wrong, but I think there's a certain level of you need to stop more people from putting on half-assed festivals using the Fortnite name. And this is how you do it.
Yeah, I mean, and I guess I can see that, but
yeah, it becomes the problem if you let it happen once. Then it happens more and more, and once it's like an epidemic, it's damaging, and it's you didn't sue the last 4 guys, but we're suing now. But the last 4 guys didn't get sued. It's not a legal defense, but does make it harder to kind of shut that shit down.
Yeah, and I guess they did utilize the name in a certain way, because that did make the more attended than it would have been otherwise if they would just call it Game Convention featuring Fortnite.
No, it's very much you used our name. You can't do that.
Yeah, I can see that. I guess I can understand kind of both sides of this, but yeah, I don't like the idea that they're probably going to put this little event company out of business very easily just with legal proceedings.
I assume the event put this company out of business, but yeah, That's why it's more like DashCon.
And
it's like, we shouldn't have done this. Whoops.
Yeah.
but
yeah. But Epic definitely has the money to do whatever they want, I guess. Speaking of Epic with money,
they just put $100 million on Fortnite esports.
That's a lot of money.
For something they haven't gotten to
lot of
yet
money.
Either.
Yeah. That's but wow, I mean, all right, so it's like the solo champion will take home $3 million.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money for winning a tournament. Holy crap. I mean, that's winning the lottery level of money. That's they have a lot of money now.
They have a lot of money now. Yes, they do. And they keep making a lot of money. And so I'm gonna put my cynical Charlie hat on for a second. Like this very much feels like, so how much have you been following kind of the Apex Legends demolishing shit on Twitch trend?
I notice it. I notice it's just
like where Fortnite previously was the number one thing on Twitch, it took time to get there. For a while it was PUBG, then Fortnite overtook PUBG, and Fortnite's been there for a while. And then Apex Legends came out of nowhere and kicked that shit down real fucking hard. And does not seem to be showing signs of stopping. And on top of that, something we don't talk about a lot on this podcast, or talk about a lot in the context of Fortnite is really popular in the U.S. It's popular other places, but it's like the center of its popularity is indeed the U.S. It's not hurting because of that, but like in the rest of the world, PUBG is still actually the preferred battle royale game, or it was, because Apex Legends is picking up steam in the U.S., but also all over the world in a way Fortnite never did.
Yeah, well, I think in a certain way it's because Apex Legends just has, it's just going to have a longer shelf life.
That's not me kind of saying one's worse than the other or whatever. It's my point being, like, it's the Apex Legends is doing a thing. The idea of something coming out of nowhere and kind of taking down Fortnite the way it's doing. And, like, Fortnite's doing fine. A shit ton of people are still, I'm not meaning to sound like it's the Fortnite killer, but like, if you're Epic, you don't see a world in which something comes out of a stealth release happens and it basically bodies your game all of a sudden, which is what happened.
Yeah.
And I think Fortnite's kind of in a weird situation where it's got to do something. It's tried esports before, they did not go over well. The PUBG stuff has had bad esports. People seem receptive to the idea. The Epic stuff has not been, the Fortnite stuff has not been well received at all. It's like, this is problematic. And like what makes that game appealing to people seems to be the streaming aspects of it and the building and things. And when you take away one of the big markers of how much is being streamed with a game that is not even a month old yet, that's a big fucking deal. Who knows if Apex will hang ultimately, but they have plans, and it's made by EA. It's not like it's PUBG where it's a small company. It's got some force behind it, and you gotta wonder if this type of move is very much aimed at, we have to keep this shit relevant because we are making way too much money off this for it to fade away.
Yeah.
And I've heard some anecdotal stuff where it's like people that are on like buses and stuff, hearing kids talk about video games, and where it used to be Fortnite, it's now very much Apex. Like there's been a dramatic culture shift away from Fortnite.
That is, I guess this year we might really start to see some sort of exhaustion with that style of game.
Yeah, and I think exhaustion is the wrong word. I think we're going to see battle royales settle into the world they were always meant to, which is battle royales are a game mode. Like that's how they existed previously, and PUBG kind of popularized the concept of it being a full game. And and I think it will work. Like kind of like it's I could argue that like PUBG and Overwatch from a number of game modes perspective are comparable.
Yeah.
You have to find some way of keeping people hooked. and I think where Apex does really well is
Mm-hmm.
it's got that kind of Overwatch fan investment in its characters that, like, ultimately are just classes, but they have enough personality that people seem to care about them. They're writing fan fiction, making porn about them and stuff like that. You've got people hooked in a way that, like, no one cares about Fortnite. Like, the idea of a character battle royale, it's not really a character battle royale, it's just a battle royale, has legs, and there are some character-to-character differences, but they're more classes than anything else, and I think that really fucking works.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's, like you said, it's where it started, and it's probably going to be the way forward when the craze finally starts to die down a bit more, and it settles into what its gamer base is just going to be for a period of time. But I guess that's the funny thing, in that, if we mentioned this here on the podcast, that they don't actually plan on keeping Fortnite around all that much longer, which is kind of interesting. When in the thought of they just now invested a whole lot more money in it, its actual planned life, it has some planned obsolescence, and it's not actually going to be for that much longer. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing. I mean, do you think they're going to sell it off?
Yeah, sorry, I lost you for a big chunk there.
Oh,
something's on my internet.
But in any case, yeah. I mean, I guess, I mean, the battle royale games, they're going to be around, but I don't think we're going to see any more that are, like you said, that are PUBG, that focus almost entirely on the battle royale is the game.
And I think Fortnite fits in a weird void where it's... I never got Fortnite. I could get PUBG, I get Apex. Fortnite always seemed kind of like it's truly a game mode. Like, it's a game mode you can... because it's part of a bigger game that never took off, kind of thing. And that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think the future of battle royales, it's a new genre. It's a weird thing. I never expected to see another genre come out in my lifetime, really. Like, it's...
Yeah.
Fortnite has its gimmick, which is the building thing, but it's a gimmick that's very polarizing. Either you like it or you don't.
I'm actually a fan of the gimmick. I think it's a cool thing to throw into a game. I suspect
you wish it wasn't a shooter.
With the game. No, I mean, I'm
fair,
fine with it being a shooter.
You kind of be like, I wish it was just a good building program.
Yeah, we already have those. We have lots of those. Of varying levels and competencies. But yeah, I think it, at least, that's the thing that still kind of sets it off from the others, is that mechanic. And it really is often a game mechanic that can distinguish certain games, especially ones that have from the same genre, essentially. So yeah, I mean, and Apex Legends, threw in some other ideas and game mechanics as well, and that's what's distinguishing it from other similar games. So
we shall see.
But indeed,
as cynical as that
Hmm.
sounds. Yeah, Epic put a lot of money into that esports thing. We'll see if it pans out. It seems like a bad move, but I don't know.
Yeah.
What to do next? Reggie Fils-Aimé is retiring from Nintendo. It'll happen in April. He's being replaced by Doug Bowser. I initially put in the show notes that Alex had 60 seconds to make all the Bowser jokes he wanted, but if you want to take that time, Henry, you're welcome to it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm waiting for the inevitable Bowsette artwork version of him.
Bowsette was pure. Then Booset happened. I'm like, no, we've gone too far. We every day we stray farther from the light of God. Bowsette was wholesome. But it's all about Chompette, though. See, I'd be more okay with that than Boosette. Like, it's the idea of you have a ghost, and then you're turning it into a sexy ghost. Like, what was the ghost before it died? Like, this sounds terrible.
Kind of terrifying, but of course the whole Princess Crown thing in general is kind of terrifying. And wow, not to go completely off the topic, but the the crown itself created a lot of interesting fan theories.
Gamers are
about,
apparently
like, for instance,
thirsty motherfuckers that will draw some shit.
So just Doug Bowser, just saying, dude. Look forward to searches on your name bringing up things that will haunt your nightmares.
Yeah.
Because we are horrible. We are terrible.
I'm
Humans
sure
are
he
awful.
knows this. He worked for Nintendo previously.
Yeah. It's just so good that his name is
That's
Bowser.
the joke they've made for years. Like, this is not new, which I think is probably my favorite part of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, did you see the video when he got hired originally? Like, he used to work for, I think it was Activision. He moved over to Nintendo, and it's like a picture of him being like, "Hi, welcome to Nintendo," and it's some fucking Luigi and Mario tied up the Nintendo 64 controller in the background.
He's got to capture somebody. Oh,
but yes,
Bowser.
Jokes aside, Reggie Fils-Aimé, after 15 years, is stepping down as what is it? The COO of Nintendo America. He's being replaced by Doug Bowser, who was North America's current senior vice president. So it's sales and marketing. So it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's a step up from. I mean, he was already kind of at that level. He was at the executive level.
Not
anyway.
some power grab. Or Reggie's not lost in some castle right now. This is pure business. That makes a lot of sense. I never quite got on the Reggie train. Lots of other people did. I always found Reggie a little bit off-putting, but fun. But I'm kind of hoping Doug Bowser brings his own twist on this on the whole kind of gimmick, because it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I want to see him have very awkward E3 presentations.
I want him taking the E3 stage in like a Koopa King logo tie, just all black with a red tie with the Bowser logo on it. Like, that's what I want from this.
Yeah. Yes. It's a part of his contract. It's required.
Yeah. One hand, I'm sad to see Reggie Fils-Aimé go. He's been quite a presence in the gaming industry. On the other hand, you've definitely earned it, dude. Your body was ready or something. I'm sad Alex is here. He has all the good Reggie jokes, the beef with Reggie.
Oh, Reggie, you are a pure cinnamon bun. You're such an awkward joy.
That is the best way of describing it. Maybe not the cinnamon bun part, but yeah, yep, yeah. That's definitely awkward. Fits weird in the mouth. Moving on. We talked about ray tracing earlier, and this is not necessarily a serious article, just something I found kind of funny because it's bizarre talking about this way. Star Citizen developer got out there and said, "Man, ray tracing sounds like a massive headache." These are the people that implemented sign language in their video game and have worked on bizarre stuff like using webcams to make your character's mouth move. So the idea of these psychopaths getting out there saying this seems like a pain in the ass does not bode well for the tech.
Yeah, but I mean, like I said, it's to put ray tracing into your game is completely different from the way you generally do 3D graphics, 3D rendering, period. And that's why it's it's always going to be a tremendous game to add that to any game that wasn't just created with it.
I put this on here so we could talk about the idea that, like, it sounds very much like ray tracing has to be a decision you make at the get-go. It's not something you can adapt to later down the road.
Yes, absolutely. It has to be an essential part of your game engine to begin with. You can't it's not something you can turn on. Just the technical side of it it's completely different in theory, like in the theory section and in the execution section from how you generally do a 3D scene. And so, it has to be an essential part of the engine because it does it so much. All the mathematics are different. Everything's different.
Yeah.
So, I can see why that they would be like, it sounds like a cool idea, but probably not for our game.
Yeah. And the article we're pulling some of this stuff from is very much aimed at the, like, man, if a game like Star Citizen is worried about slowing down their production with this stuff, how much kind of slowdown does this thing cause? So, who knows?
Yep.
Yeah. We'll see what happens to that tech. It sounds cool, like it looks cool, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Doing a happy one. This one's actually specifically for you, Henry. Darkest Dungeon 2 is coming. Indeed.
Woo! Oh yeah, I have definitely been playing
Yep.
that game. I didn't play it this week, but I've typically been playing it because I think it teaches you a very valuable lesson in losing and how to recover
Yep.
from losing. Because man, like you will
Yep.
lose lots of your characters. You are meant to have characters
Yep.
just go off and die all the time. It's just the way the game goes. You come up on a really unlucky series of events within the dungeon, and it's just, well, goodbye character, permadeath. They
Yep.
aren't coming back. And any money and stuff that you invested in them, and the time you invested leveling them and the money, that's all gone. Just you got to deal with it. And so, yeah, I'm interested to see what they will do with the sequel, because the thing is, and this is, I'm wondering what new mechanics they could actually come up with. Like what kinds of new mechanics that wouldn't just be like tacked on Darkest Dungeon
Well, I get the impression
DLC.
the Darkest Dungeon DLC was actually pretty expansive, with whole new classes and
Mm.
added a lot more story
Oh, it was.
to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, they added in a whole
Yeah.
Cthulhu thing for one thing. That's what one of the DLCs did, which is and kind of a new game style, a game mode actually for the dungeons. So I mean, it's not like I doubt that they can do something. I'm just interested to see what they're
Also,
going to do. I mean, that's really what
they
it comes
talked
down
about
to.
how basically the idea is that you're no longer in a village; you're on an expedition. So it's kind of the meta game, if you will, has changed to adapt to the idea that you're no longer in one spot. It's not a town you're building up; it's kind of a character, if you will. And it takes
All right,
place in an
so-
icy pass, I guess, or like in the mountains of some kind. So it's possible there'll be some kind of like base management aspect to it now.
Yeah, where the base management to the first one is really just making parts of your
Yeah.
base better. I mean, like there's no having to deal with the town being attacked or anything like that. It's just the town's just there, and all you can really do is improve the town, and nothing is really. I mean, not to say that that's small, but I'm just saying you didn't have to defend
I'm not
from
saying that. Like
bandits.
you
You
can
never
add
have to do that in the
idea
game.
of like food
Yeah.
or something being a thing you have to manage on a
Yeah.
meta level.
One thing I kind of hope they don't do is put in an Oregon Trail vibe into that, because all right, so I played another game that tried to do that. Gosh, I can't think of the game name right now. It was a game that was kind of steeped in Norse mythology, and it was
Banner
a
Saga.
strategy RPG. Yes, Banner Saga. I didn't like that game, because I felt like its Oregon Trail parts were not good and like wildly random, and well, of course, on the other side, I felt like it's actually strategy RPG. Its tactical RPG gameplay was incredibly shallow, so I'm like, it felt like two half games made. But yeah, I don't want to see the Oregon Trail aspect thrown into Darkest Dungeon 2. I think that would make the game from difficult to just frustrating for no good reason. Because the game, well, I say that because the game is difficult enough. Keeping people alive in your party is difficult enough without random events happening while you're in town that will destroy
Sure.
your characters. I mean, alright, so there are some random events that happen in Darkest Dungeon 2 in town, but they don't really affect your characters too much. Like, there's no fear of your characters dying while they're in town. And I don't want that to be a thing in the new one either, because that's just, like I said, it's enough. The game is hard enough. It's just difficult enough without just throwing complete randomness into just screw you over. I mean, that's the point of Oregon Trail. Oregon Trail is entirely a game about that, but I don't want to see that in my Darkest Dungeon 2.
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones where the Darkest Dungeon was so well received we could do nothing but wait and see what they do. Like, in a weird way, Darkest Dungeon with like tuned up gameplay is not the worst thing to want to either. They said they're gonna kind of tighten it up, if you will, which would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely look forward to that one.
The biggest detail that's important to note is the apparently the iconic ancestor will be making a return, doing the voice stuff. So yeah, that's the best part
awesome.
of that game in some ways. Yeah, trying to avoid more layoff news while we can, so we can finish off with that before we get into emails. Talked about the ray tracing stuff. Google has apparently been unveiling something at GDC on March 19th. It's probably a streaming service they were testing a couple months back with Assassin's Creed. Not much is known about this at this point, but yeah.
I'm guessing they're wanting to dive into the whole Twitch because, but that's
this
weird
was a
thing.
game streaming thing. Like it's
game streaming.
The Netflix of gaming.
Oh yeah, it's an idea that's been played around with so much. Like I've seen so many companies that thought about it or tried to do it. If you remember, there's at least 2 games consoles built around that idea that never either came out and nobody cared for or were never built. But it's interesting. I mean, if anybody has the money to throw at it and the already framework to deal with it,
it also would benefit
them
most. Like it's the idea of trying to compete directly with a Sony or a Microsoft is foolish. The idea of being able to stream games to a cheap ass box, though, like what's the word I'm looking for? That what's their streaming stick called? I'm blanking on the name. Like a Chromecast. That's something you can sell.
Yeah. It feels, especially if it was something like a Chromecast that you could just plug into a TV, into the side of a TV via USB, and then it just works. Which sounds like they're again, Google already kind of has the technology to do this stuff.
Yeah, they already have Chromecast.
So
kind of like a halfway step between what we're talking about and nothing.
Yeah.
We'll see. Next up. Not just like gaming news, but I thought this is important to talk about because we talked about this in the past. There's a really real chance YouTube might about to get really fucked up again. And I only bring this up because I guess Epic pulled a bunch of their ads. Yes, Epic, as in makers of Fortnite, pulled Fortnite ads from the platform because it was, I guess, being played in front of videos that were part of like pedophile rings or something. Yeah.
God. Yeah, I mean, you read up on it, and it's like, I understand why they did it, but it seems kind of heavy-handed to remove it from. They're just like, all right, so we want to not be involved with any of this, and so we're just going to entirely remove ourselves. So literally, it's no longer possible for this thing to happen. Because for a video to get flagged, I mean, you have to have people on there to flag it, and not every video gets flagged. That's doing illicit and disgusting stuff like this. But
what you're talking about is previously gamers was the one being blamed for this because a lot of ad markets didn't want to have their stuff rolling before potentially violent gaming stuff. Me and Alex talked extensively about the idea that Coke. Yeah. We always use Coke for some example. I'm not sure why, but like the idea that Coke might not want to be before a top 10 kills of the week Call of Duty compilation video or something. And I threw this on here because it's nice seeing an instance of like, YouTube's problems aren't gamers, it's YouTube. Like in the fact that there is no content curation on that platform, which is why you have shit like this.
Yeah, I mean, there's no active sort of. I mean, and I can kind of see why
it's
be very difficult seeing the billions of videos, and I have no idea how many are uploaded per day, but I'm guessing it might be in the hundreds of thousands of videos are being uploaded every single day, if not possibly millions. I have no idea. I just know that there's no way you could actually like manage that. To actually have people have oversight over that, but that's the thing. I mean, we're in a stage of technology where we don't know all the answers, and we're still just experimenting. Yeah. Even the experts, and Google and YouTube. I mean, these are experts. These are tech experts that are also working with marketing people and everything to try to figure out answers to some really difficult questions.
And part of the issue right now is that YouTube has tried very hard to move away from humans actually moderating stuff, which it's very algorithm based, which
It's
is a problem.
Yeah, it is a problem, but there's no easy answers around that. I mean, like you said, it's yes, the automatic content policing system is problematic, but what's the alternative?
Actual people watching videos, which brings up a whole other set of problems.
Literally impossible, which is why they rely on sort of community reporting, and at least they have pretty easy ways to report pretty much anything. I mean, when there's that much content, and that's something that Steam's been running into as well. Is just like, how do we police all these thousands upon thousands of games? How do we? There has to be something automatic, because it's going to take forever for a human team to get around to looking at every single game that's ever been pushed to the platform. And in YouTube, like I said, it could be, I don't even know, it could be like 1 million videos are being uploaded every day.
Yeah.
Literally, you can't have a company big enough to be able to deal with that type of volume. I mean, I totally get why, but yeah, it is going to adversely impact people who do rely on the ad revenue for their videos. But, I mean, it's just I can't think of a good alternative to what these companies did, which is just yanking their commercials completely because they don't want it associated with awful, actual, really awful stuff.
And
I wouldn't want mine either. I would maybe do the same. I would take the total response, just like, we're just not going to advertise
people have been
here.
doing.
We just can't.
Yeah, we are rapidly approaching a point, and maybe the argument is that it never should have been, but the idea of being able to support yourself via ad revenue from YouTube is increasingly. There's more stuff pointing to this isn't going to be a thing forever. Like, it's just the getting this to work is going to be a problem.
Which is why more and more video people have been going the Patreon
sponsorship approach. But
sponsorship as well. But either crowdfunded with Patreon or just actually getting a sponsor on your own, and that's probably the way forward. I think you're right, in that it will be just sponsors will choose to sponsor you for one reason or another, and that way there's some vetting going on, but the sponsors do the vetting, and so it doesn't mean that ad revenue generated stuff is going completely away, but now you come into a channel, and much like an agreement with a TV station, which is, or whatever, like a TV station, the company comes to a actual contract with the content creator. And so I think that's probably what's going to... I mean, we've already seen it happening. There's some channels that are just outright, definitely sponsored by one company or more than one company, and that's probably what's going to keep happening. They're just going to have to make individual... But that's going to have a big harm on the larger community, because it's not like companies are going to necessarily go out of their way to make a deal with every single little channel on YouTube.
Oh, no, what you're touching on is kind of the very weirdly real situation of the YouTube gold rush was too good to be true, and it lasted way longer than something that was too good to be true.
Oh yeah,
should have. And now we're kind of, we talked on this podcast about the idea that this is going to go away eventually. Like, this is too much of a get rich quick scheme that works for it to keep going the way it's going, and here we are.
Yeah. And of course, everything is ruined by horrible people. Just the worst people ruin it for everybody.
Moving on from that, though, Microsoft plans to announce 2 next-gen Xboxes at E3, apparently. The long-rumored Project Scarlet's going to kind of come to reveal finally, according to the French video game set Jouet Video. Can you pronounce that one better than I can, Henry?
Jouet Video? I don't know. I don't know French.
The previously leaked names, Lockhart and Anaconda consoles, which, if we can just get a console called the Microsoft Anaconda, I'd be kind of okay with that. Like the Scorpio is
That
such a
sounds
better
kinda
name
cool.
than the Xbox One X. Like, I want dumb animal names.
Oh yeah. Might as well, take the car route and name them whatever sounds interesting.
New from Microsoft. The Hyundai. It's dumb.
well, not like the brand, but it's like, like some of them come out with just the most ridiculous
Speed
car
Demon.
names. But yeah. But yeah, I want them to start naming things. But Microsoft has always kind of had interesting internal names for stuff.
Like I said, that's part of the kind of leaked, rumored, whatever you want to call it, Scarlet Line. We won't be seeing these concerts probably till 2020, but we may actually get some information about them this year at E3, which is, ironically, rapidly approaching.
Yep. The word is now that one of them will be have no disc tray. So that's interesting. It's only going to have, it won't, so you can't actually buy physical games for it, which that's a pretty big
potentially
jump.
Smart move.
I mean, we've been moving away from that. I mean, if you read other reports, you just know that sales of physical games are just going down. They're just in every way, shape, and form. Every game that's being released, both in physical form and in digital, the sales are just on a continual downward slide, and I understand why. But yeah. But also, it means, like, less manufacturing costs, which has caused, I think, the price of games in general to go down a good bit. Is your games that aren't bothering to produce any sort of a physical medium, that means that's one less thing to have to worry about, one less massive cost pressing discs.
Yeah, and to be fair, there have been rumors about this going around for a while at this point, so
yes,
we will see what happens. The idea of a disc driveless Microsoft Xbox is something that almost make sense, like, for this round of Xbox games to a certain level. So we'll see.
Yeah,
I just hope they have better names this time, as dumb as that sounds.
yeah.
And our kind of last silly news of the week, kind of in comparison to last week's, did you know Razer had a games market? Did you know stream a video selection?
It's
going away,
know,
so it doesn't matter.
Honestly.
But yeah, that's a choice on someone's part.
Yep. Yeah, apparently, I guess they're not going to get rid of what they have.
You won't lose content, you just can't buy new content. They're not going to add more to it, I guess.
Well, the weird thing is, all right, so there's a little section here that says that essentially Valve, it will still have video content. It's just going to be on the game and software store pages.
So it's more they're doing away with the actual market space, that they're merging the markets, essentially?
I guess, but it's not clear whether or not they're ever going to produce any more movies or put any more movies on it or not.
Yeah.
Okay. That's kind of weird. I mean, if you take a look at the store is not well done. The video store is not well done. So that probably didn't help. Yeah, and, it was a try. I mean, it was obviously Valve trying to kind of cut into, like Amazon and Netflix, to be honest.
I think it's much harder going from being a retailer to a games platform than from a games platform to a more generic retailer.
Yeah, because of what people expectations and stuff, and what... Yeah, I mean, if you didn't know that they had video, there's no way of knowing that they have video. Not a good way. I mean, if you go on the front page, I've never seen videos on the front page ever.
There.
Anytime I've ever...
I knew the video services existed, I just wasn't sure where they were in Steam. Like, part of me almost thought they were a separate app or something like that.
Yeah, they made their own storefront, but made it so completely separate from the main store page that most people never would even know to click to go towards it, or to see it even. It's like, I wonder how many Steam users actually ever saw the video store.
1, maybe 2,
5, and that was the families of the developers.
I'm sure it made sense because they kept it going for a long time. Like, it's not like it was like, hey, we're doing this, hey, it's gone. I think it's been around for at least 5 years, but it may also be like, yeah, this is a pain in the ass.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why they just it makes more sense to just shutter it.
Speaking of shuttering, that's a disingenuous transition there, Charlie. You shouldn't have said that. AreaNet, makers of Guild War and Guild Wars 2, informed employees that there are plans for big layoffs in the future. Exact numbers have not been supplied, but yeah, apparently the game's been declined for a little while right now, and yep.
Well, that sounds like they haven't been doing anything other than support Guild Wars 2, so I can kind of see why.
And
I mean,
we're gonna talk about this idea a little bit. Actually, an email we got later. We were set. We feel bad for the employees of AreaNet. I know Alex is a big on again, off again fan of Guild Wars 2. I played Guild Wars 2 for a little while. I don't think I ever put money into it beyond the original purchase, but yeah.
I played the first one. I played Guild Wars 1, so that's only. But Guild Wars 2 is a huge leap from Guild Wars 1. So, but yeah, that's kind of sad. But it's ultimately it's NCSoft that's been just closing down studios and reducing people. Well, I mean, firing people,
as
or laying
NCSoft
off people,
has
whatever.
historically been prone to doing. AreaNet is roughly
AreaNet
has about 400 people working at it, so we'll see how many kind of. Like I said, no actual numbers on what's going to happen with this just yet, so we'll see. If you were holding out for a Guild Wars 3, I don't think it's happening.
No. Yeah, I mean they would have already started on that. Yeah, that's unfortunate.
The word "most" keeps floating around, which is truly unsettling.
Yeah. Which means, all right, so let's just say that I've been around in companies that have done exactly that have just keep reducing their numbers until they're just nothing.
I guess unlike some other stories they've been out there and announced that you'll get 2 months severance to anyone losing their job, as well as bonus time based on how long you've been there. So that's good, I guess.
That's actually way better. Most of the time, it's just like, you're gone, bye.
I get the impression more in that vein of thought. In keeping with, I guess, the big studios laying people off, EA's Australian studio called Firebear or something. I've never even heard. Iron Monkey Studios and Fire Monkey Studio, sorry. Which I guess has been a thing that's been around. They've worked on a bunch of games I don't think I've ever touched. But yeah. That place got straight gutted, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, it includes The Sims Mobile.
Like I said, a bunch of games I've never touched.
Haven't played it. Yep. The Real Racing 3, I wasn't aware was a franchise, but I guess it is. I mean, enough to where they were apparently working on a 4th. So
apparently about 40 to 50 people were impacted by this. The original estimate was upwards of 80, so it's unclear what the future of the company exactly is. Again, I'm going to sound callous. I've never heard of these guys. I'm not sure I've ever played a game they've made, so I guess I'm not as surprised as the Activision one that happened last week. Which isn't fair, but mostly this kind of gives more of a credence to the Game Workers Unite stuff. And did you read that labor board thing that went out last week in response to the Activision email, Activision stuff?
No.
It's a great read. Basically, it's a real solid kind of argument for the gaming industry needs to unionize. It calls out Bobby Kotick specifically and stuff. Like it's GDC's right around the corner when everyone's going to be in one spot too. So good time to be having these conversations.
Yeah, I did read an article that included like the head of one of the big game sort of industry, one of the big game industry organizations, and it was basically just said nothing about the whole unionization. Like didn't want to touch the idea with a 10-foot pole, either going for or against. And I think that's pretty cowardly. Very cowardly.
I don't know on this one. I do not know or understand, I guess, the labor aspects of the gaming industry enough to have a in-depth thought on the idea of what unionization would do to that. I work in a similar industry that has unions that are a little bit more not directly applied to what I do, but there are occasionally rumors in my industry about unionizing, and it's not clear what that would do to my industry either. So yeah, we will see on this one.
But this is the thing. If you look at the history of unions and unionization, they've done nothing but make things better. Like, I mean, they're one of the reasons we have things like minimum wage and like certain number of hours per week, which, have been, those ideas have been busted by the whole, well, we'll just make you exempt employees by salary, which all it means now is now you work, we'll make you work 100 hours in a week.
No, that's the problem. A bunch of my industry is salary for that exact reason.
Yeah, which is total horse shit. I mean, my industry is big about that, but it's just about, I mean, I hate that for the most part in this country, labor, it's just been, the idea of unions have been so attacked constantly that for too many people, the idea of a union is distasteful, when really the unions are why we have livable, decent working conditions now. I mean, the ability to mass strike, I mean, it's invaluable, and to make demands, and to have a body organization that can help you with that, rather than you having to focus all of your time on trying to gather the people to do it yourself. Collective bargaining.
Yeah. No, historically, unions are mostly a positive thing, but I've also known of a couple of situations where, because of unions, factories had to be shut down and stuff. And again, this is not a one-to-one comparison. I think it would be a positive thing in the long run, but I also do not know what it would do to the gaming industry as a whole. It might do nothing except get people decent wages and not live in constant fear of speaking out and getting laid off as a result of it, which would be a great thing. But
but seeing as how you have, I mean, the corporate problems in the gaming industry, the same corporate problems.
I'd say you have corporate problems everywhere.
The corporate world.
It's the
not
to just do a political podcast,
and just
the gaming industry, corporate issues are not unique to the gaming industry.
No, there's lots, like we're just talking about, there's lots of people affected by the fact that anymore, non-exempt employee simply means employee we can work literally to death because we don't pay them by the hour. Yeah, I mean, it's just frustrating to hear about that, and like I said, frustrating to hear that the industry as a whole basically wants nothing to say about it because they don't want to come out for or against it. And I think that's a really cowardly position to take. Especially when people's lives are involved.
Yeah. No argument here. That does it for news this week. Emails?
Emails.
You want to get in contact with us, Henry? How would you go about doing that?
That is wickedawesomecast@gmail.com.
Wickedawesomecast@gmail.com. So as it sounds, down the show notes, etc. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of a mental cleanser, though. One of our fans was nice enough to send in a fantastic email given last week's talk, so we're going to start with that. It comes from Anonymous. Last week's podcast was justifiably a super bummer by the end, and in the interest of keeping these emails fun, since I suspect this week will also be depressing as hell, I provide this mind bleach. What's the cutest baby animal? Personally, I think it's cheetahs are stupid adorable. Hippos.
That's a tough one.
Maybe hippos are fucking adorable.
And I have weird ideas.
Let's hear them. Our next email is about fucking layoffs in the game industry again and stuff. So we're doing our happy now. Yeah.
I think young spiders are cute.
With the giant googly eyes.
Yeah, I kind of like. I like spiders, and so I know most people would not.
Alex would not.
That. All right. So, let me think. Because there's a lot of
baby spiders is fine, dude. I didn't want to judge.
Yeah. Like there's a number of cute rodents, like adorable rodents, I think are a thing. I mean, I like the fact that they kind of have these their little hands that they can just grab stuff with, and yeah, I am definitely a cat person. So, and some of the big cats, yeah, I'd say have some very very cute kittens, like super adorable kittens. Some of the wild cats definitely do, like bobcat kittens are absolutely ridiculously adorable. Um, yeah, yeah, I like yeah, baby animals. Yeah, I mean, there's there's a whole world of super cute baby animals, which is kind of interesting. Like they, and it may be this is kind of an aside, but like there may be an evolutionary reason why the young of so many animals seem so cute, or at least one way or the other, we're turned to feel like things with sort of a bigger head to body ratio and bigger eye to head ratio are cute, so that like so that people actually aren't as or animals in general aren't as likely to attack babies or baby animals because they're cute. But anyways, yeah, baby animals.
Yeah. Thanks for writing in, Anonymous. Now,
Thank you so
another
much.
email that comes in from Emma. Dear Wicked Awesome Cast. Last week, Charlie and Alex covered in great detail the Activision layoffs. Though through the entire conversation, they remained very down on Activision, which really stuck to a people be greedy and workers were victims narrative. I in no way disagree with this, but I am surprised that after how the Telltale closure was handled, in comparison, that had a much more this sucks but shit happens, especially from Charlie vibe to it. I do not completely agree with that stance, but based on the comparisons he made in the industry he works in, I could get behind it. That all being said, here's my question. The Activision layoffs and Telltale closure, in my perspective, are very similar events, and they are a direct result of well-documented labor practices of the gaming industry. Why the somewhat different reaction to the two events? In both cases, a lot of people lost their jobs. The incident seemed to come out of nowhere, and both seemed to result of corporate overlords. For me, the difference is Telltale Studios is gone.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. One of them is no longer around, so they literally ran out of money to pay anybody, or at least were not able to actually persist as a company. Period. Whereas, when Activision, they didn't lose all their jobs. Everybody in management and corporate pretty much didn't lose their jobs. For reference,
the 800 plus people, I think it's almost 1,000 now, people that got laid off, only makes up about 8% of Activision's employees, meaning it's a fucking big company.
It's a gigantic company, but yeah, it wasn't a thing where it was something that could have been obviously avoided. There's places to cut costs, but as with a lot of companies, the largest cost in a company is always going to be the people working in it, the salaries and benefits. And so a lot of places go to that first when they're trying to make a little more profit or at least look better on paper. They just dump a bunch of people instead of thinking about where could we cut corners to make this still work, or where could we have planned this better so that we can keep just a consistent work base and not have these constant hiring and firing
sprees. And it's one of those things where it's like, if you're like Activision and you have a bunch of shareholders saying like, you guys need to cut $2 million from your yearly operating budget, finding ways to cut like the coffee costs or something like that doesn't add up that quickly. It might add up over time, but if you have to cut $2 million worth of funds somewhere, the most direct approach is, hey, we pay these people X amount of money a year. Let's get them. That's not a good approach to it, but it's how you get immediate results, and that's the problem.
Yeah. I mean, for example, Bain Capital was a company that did exactly that. What it would do is it would be given a company that's on the verge of collapse, fire pretty much everybody so that the company instantly looks like it's profitable, then resell it in its profitable state. And so, yeah, it's, yeah, I think, like I said, at least in the case of Telltale, there was some stupidity going on.
We're not saying Telltale,
but the whole company collapsed.
Like, it's the yeah. When I was talking about kind of the comparisons by industry earlier and back then, I wasn't saying this is right or fair or good. It was at least in that case, I can understand it because I have worked for jobs that no longer exist. Like, the company is gone, and the job went away because the company was like, yeah, so we're closing. And you're like, okay, what's that mean for me? It means we're closing. Like, do I get severance?
Yep.
Nah, we have no money.
Yep. Yeah, whereas, in the case of, say, Activision, they do. And they have the money. I mean, they're making money hand over fist. That you just can't argue with that point. And you have to also know that, their profit per year, they could have easily cut $2 million out, or however much they needed to save with this many jobs. On
top of
that should have been. Whereas Telltale had no other part of their budget to look to, they completely dried up.
If you want if you have a good explanation of the Telltale thing, there's a YouTube channel that does a thing. I think it's called like Nerd Slayer or something. He has a video series called Death of a Game, where he does a lot of research into that stuff, and I'm sure it's not 100% accurate, but at least the story he figured out and outlines for what was going on with Telltale at the time of its closure were basically like it was signing projects and then taking money from that project to pay for a project they were currently doing speaks to a whole myriad of financial issues. Like it's one of these things where like Telltale closed, there was some corporate skullduggery that sucked and stuff like that, but also like it was in financial problems. Activision just posted a record year and still laid off almost 1,000 people.
Yeah, literally record year, and they didn't manage to find it in their coffers to, pay the people that actually enabled that profitable year. And that's what makes me the angriest. And that's why, like I said, I'm in super 100% in favor of unionizing for developers, for game developers of all, whether you're a programmer or you're a 3D artist or any of these things, that there needs to be a union, because it's just too often that they just see you as completely and utterly just disposable.
Yeah, in some ways, a more apt comparison to the Activision one would be the Studio 38 thing, the Kingdoms of Amalur guy. We talk about them every once in a while, where, there was a lot, some truly bizarre financial choices were being made at that company, like buying people houses and shit that were great for employees, but really bad for a company overall. And I say it's only a more direct comparison because when that place started getting hit by layoffs, it went after like everyone. It basically worked its way up from like bottom to top of like who was most valuable to not, was my understanding. Which is the impression I've gotten about the Activision one too, where it's like, okay, we have 6 janitors, can we get by with 2?
Yeah, which is the way a lot of companies do a lot of things, and it's pretty horrific. And like I said, Activision could have found room in its coffers to not fire all these people. I mean, this just shows me that they have a lack of budgeting and planning. Like a total lack of budgeting and planning. Thinking about the future, or how you're going to, when you hire a certain amount of people, how are you going to keep them on? And I feel like that they have no thought to that whatsoever, of keeping anybody on. Anybody is fair game that's not in an executive level.
Yeah, and I also think it speaks to an issue where like the corporate structuring of things is problematic right now. Like it's like we're not a finance podcast, but the idea that people that run a company can decide how much they get paid arbitrarily and are willing to make decisions around making sure they get those increases and stuff is baffling. That's legal.
That's why, like, I'm very much on starting a co-op game company. One already exists. There is a co-op game company that exists right now, and that right there gets rid of it. I mean, basically, if you make your company a co-op, you don't have the same types of executive members. You have a voted an elected board to make those executive decisions. But yeah, you can get unelected from the board. So I mean, that's the and I feel like that's
that kind of clarifies.
We can't
and helps explain the differences. Again, like none of us are financial or executive law or whatever the right kind of label is experts on this, but like as someone who works in a similar field and as Henry, who does work in the exact video game field, the big difference is Activision is still very much around and Telltale doesn't exist.
Yeah.
There's only so much blood you can get from a dead corpse.
But thank you. Yeah. Thank you. But thank you so much for writing in.
Yeah. Still there? Okay.
Yeah.
That does it for emails this week. Thank you all for writing in. Thank you for that the animal email. It made that whole depression a little bit more bearable. Yeah.
It did. Yeah. I like thinking about cute animals. I still do that on YouTube. Straight up. Oh yeah, I forgot another cute animal that I think is very cute. Two of them actually. Two baby animals. Goats.
Yeah.
Young goats. Oh my gosh, young goats are adorable.
They're springy.
Yeah, they're just like these little happy, springy
demon
little guys.
Things.
Adult, weird, square demon-eyed things. I also like cuttlefish. I think cuttlefish.
What the fuck is wrong
cute.
with you?
They also have crazy, weird alien eyes. So that's a common thread between the two.
Octopuses are the cuddly ones. Cuttlefish are just weird squid.
Yeah. But yeah, I just thought I'd throw that in there too.
No.
But yeah. Goats.
We forget about goats. That's for this week's podcast. Anything you want to talk about before we get out of here, Alex? Not Alex, Henry. Wow, I've been doing that all fucking episode, haven't I? Fucking muscle memory. Fucking me today.
I don't know. Not really anything else I have to add.
That's fair.
Oh yeah, I'll just mention how to reach me on social media. I am Kraken0, that's ZER0, on Facebook and on Instagram. Oh yeah, and Nomad Har on Twitch.
Yeah, I may try and do some not Destiny. Wow, this week. Anthem streams at some point once there's something to stream. I guess. Like I hate people that stream the story of like games occasionally, especially if they're new. Where it's like, let people play, but I get it. I just try not to be one of those people.
Mm-hmm.
If they add like end game stuff, I may try and put something of that up, or just some chill, relaxed, free roam stream. Cool. But I make no promises. My streaming setup is still in a garage in $5.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, that does it for this week, and you.